Hello, good morning and welcome from the RDS here in Dublin at the Ideal Homes exhibition brought to you by Permanent TSB. I'm Ken Murray, I'll be with you until 5 o'clock this evening, and between now and then we're going to be taking a look at some of the many exhibitors here at the Simmons Court Pavilion just off the Marion Road here in Dublin. There's something like 230 exhibitors here and they're offering the latest in advice, the latest in gadgets, and all you want to know if you are either buying a house, building a house, or renovating an old house. If you're in that zone, so to speak, then this is the place to be between now and tea time on Monday. Well, to give you a sort of a flavour as to what's on display here and who in fact is, if you like, presenting the latest gadgets, the latest devices, the latest trends in the whole area of home improvement. I'm joined here by Laura Butler. Laura's going to be our roving reporter throughout the course of the day. Laura, you've been out and about, you've been talking to the many exhibitors here. What's this show all about?
Absolutely, I've been out and about. There are 230 exhibitors here over the weekend, and you absolutely need to wear your walking shoes. If you're coming in with your kids off for the Halloween break, do a lot of walking because there's plenty to see and do here. If you are in the market for a high-end kitchen, something more budget-friendly, handcrafted, hand-painted, there are plenty of specialists in that area. If you're looking for bespoke interiors, lighting, joinery, doors and fittings, anything at all like that. And one thing is particularly interesting I came across this morning actually, we're Fairco, and they offer Ireland's first ever burglar-proof fire doors and windows, which I thought was very interesting. It's a bold statement to make now, but they have done their homework.
You mentioned new windows that are burglar proof. Now this sounds like a whole new departure in the whole area of window provision. Explain how these windows operate.
So absolutely, it's a new departure, you're very, very correct there. Technically they've been establishing and developing this overseas for a number of years, and they're launching it here this weekend. They are PVC windows. They obviously they can do sash windows as well, but they don't come with the new technology that they're launching here this weekend, Fairco are. So basically what it is they have PVC windows, and the actual window frames themselves are not wood, although they look very, very like wood. You could honestly do a double take. They've got the knots in the old oak, everything down to a fine art. It's absolutely extraordinary. You must go up and have a look. The staff are very, very friendly, and they basically talk you through how difficult it would be for anybody to get inside your home.
And is this a relatively new concept being showcased here for the first time, or is it already out in the market, and how is it selling in terms of being more appealing to people who are building houses?
Well, I can't tell you how well it's selling because it is the first ever burglar-proof windows and doors being launched in Ireland by this company, so I can't tell you on that front, but they're expecting a lot of business this weekend. I mean, security is a big thing for people. I mean, everybody is looking to upscale and make sure their house is completely tight in that respect. So there's a lot to offer in that front, and they can just talk you through what you're looking for yourself in terms of design, spec, everything.
There's something like 230 exhibitors here at the show. You've been out and about talking to most of them. Of all the stands you visited, did anything else catch your attention?
Yes, there was one that caught my attention called Cyclosage. Now they're a little bit different. They're not offering, design, architects, construction, anything like that, but they're offering something very, very practical and very, very useful for your home. Basically, what it is it's medical bedding. So you buy this contraption, so to speak, for your home. They're a UK-based company, and they're at all the expos around Europe. They've got a website as well, and a very friendly team over from the UK that you can speak to. And basically, what you do is you lie down in these medical beds, and it eliminates the use of painkillers. So for anybody who's suffering from rheumatism, backache, sports injury, arthritis, blood pressure, the list is endless. Go and speak to this team, they're fantastic. Philip is the guy leading the front there. And you lie in the bed, heat and massage, and they go to different points of your body and point out where you need to alleviate the most pain and stress. And use them maybe once in the morning, once in the evening. And I tried one out, I have to say, earlier on, and I almost fell asleep. It was so lovely.
I think you were mentioning the point there before we came on air that there's a particular demographic that's coming here to visit the stands. What did you spot?
I spotted a lot of couples, possibly because I'm in the market, hopefully in the next year or so, to buy my own home or build my own home. So there were a lot of people like me out there, young couples or young families looking to upsize, upscale. Now people are being a bit more willing to spend their money and to part with. They want to do it in the right way. They want to come and speak to the specialists and the experts here, and that's what they're doing. A lot of couples.
Did you get the impression from talking to the many exhibitors, and we have some from the north as well, that they are experiencing what might be termed a lift in the whole sector of construction, home renovation and so on?
Definitely, there are a lot of designer architects here, and some of which companies are architects and construction, so they're a one-stop shop doing both. And they were telling me they've noticed a huge difference in the last year. The last 12 months has been a massive improvement. People are coming in, they possibly, if they have their ideal home, their final home, so to speak, they want to renovate, they want to maybe add on another room, another section to the house, or people are just more willing to kind of be more adventurous as well in terms of design.
Of the various exhibitors here, is there a lot of people offering, we'll say, kitchens, or is there a lot of people offering furniture, or is there a heavier focus on things like insulation and energy efficiency?
Energy efficiency seems to be the buzzword of this weekend, to be honest. I came across several businesses which are offering solar paneling, different types of glass, how to insulate, retain the heat in your home without, in the winter time if you've got a conservatory or something like that, but also let the heat out and just really regulate your home much more efficiently. There's a lot of new revolutionary styles of glass as well, saving up to 82% heat in the home, solar paneling, some solar paneling also, which is kind of introducing something a little bit different, is the more temperate Irish climate and how to deal with that, because obviously solar paneling operates off the sunlight, but in Ireland you don't get too much of that all the year round, so there's a lot to offer. You really need to go around and speak to everybody, to be honest, because everyone's offering something a little bit different. As I said, NSAI certified is a big thing too. So you want to just really get into the nitty-gritty, tell them exactly what you want. A lot of them will come out to your home or come out to wherever you are around the country after this week and sit down and kind of go, okay, we need insulation, spray foam insulation, we need solar paneling, we need dry lining, we need different types of flooring and glass, window panes. There's another guy I came across yesterday, a really, really lovely fellow, talking about putting in new glass but without taking out the actual window frame. And this is a new thing in itself, so it's less messy, less costly, it keeps the window frame intact, and they replace the glass with something a lot more efficient.
Is that a particular type of glass?
It is. It's a revolutionary type of glass which they've also actually developed overseas, and they're introducing it this weekend. I haven't seen much of it before. Very friendly company though.
If somebody is coming here today, tomorrow and Monday, is there any stand that you would class as a must-see stand?
Several. There are several. You were mentioning there a few moments ago, there are companies that have come down from the north. There's one gentleman, and this is something I think would be perfect for a wedding gift or something very unique that you're looking to create something very different and unique, style-wise in your own home. M. Craig Woodcraft is his name, and he's a lovely guy, Mark. And basically what it is he's based up in Monaghan. It's a family business. He's taken it over. So if you're looking for a very bespoke table, chair, mirror, clock, anything like that, it's all handcrafted and takes him a couple of days to sand down and wheel perfectly out of Irish timber. He had fascinating stuff and really reasonably priced as well. Kitchen-wise, I'm a sucker for the kitchens. I love going in and sampling and looking in pantry presses and looking in the drawers and seeing how customized everything can be inside and outside, because that's very important. And on the high-end scale of that, there's Mooney's in particular, and Christoph's I thought were very, very, very interesting. They kind of have the full package. It's a 5-star quality service, and they will talk you through every inch, literally down to the flooring underneath, the paneling underneath your dishwasher, to the knobs, to the lighting, to your cutlery presses on the inside, the type of wood they use inside the pantry press doors where you only just store your cereal. So there was a lot on that front too.
You were here yesterday. In terms of numbers, what sort of people, in terms of numbers, came in here yesterday?
There were several thousand here yesterday, and you also have to take into account that it's a Friday, people are working, so they're coming in after work. So it was open late and really kind of got busy around 6 p.m. Today I would expect a lot more families to be coming through, and a lot of people actually, from just talking to coffee stand holders and some of the people working here and who've been here for the last few years, because again, this is my debut here at the Ideal Homes Show. Tomorrow and Monday is that's the biggie. That's when the families come in. There's plenty of buggies, plenty of children looking to explore. But there's plenty for the kids too. I mean, I know it's an Ideal Homes thing, so it's kind of outside of their spectrum and their range. But there's one thing, and I have to say, this is not a gadget or a contraption for kids especially, it's for families, but podology. Very interesting. It's basically portable conservatories around your garden. And this is usually actually people in the market for this are maybe people who empty nesters, their family have up and left and they're looking to kind of refurnish their home and make it a little bit more personal and a little more intimate. And podology, what they are these pods that come in different size, different spec, different price range obviously as well. They're movable and portable, and I think we're going to get one of the ladies in later on. She's a lovely woman, but the kids are fascinated with them because they look like something out of Lord of the Rings, as if it's kind of like a Hobbit experience. You're getting into this portable conservatory which moves. It's got a fire, got lovely lighting, very ambient inside, and it takes the sticky fingers because it's all leather and washable.
Just one final question, Laura, before I let you go. You've been out and about, you've been talking to some of the exhibitors, you've been out with a camera. What can we expect to see from you throughout the course of the day?
So throughout the course of the day, I'll be stopping by a lot of the unit holders and talking to them about their product, their specialty, their expertise, what they can offer people this weekend. And very important to people who actually come to the Ideal Homes Show and have been coming for years is the experience. So they want to come in and know that they're getting top quality service, but also at a very, very good price. So they're getting a lot of discounts as well. Pretty much all of the stallholders this weekend will be offering between 10 and 20% discounts.
Laura Butler, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and indeed we'll be talking to Laura again later on throughout the day. Well, as I said, if you've just joined us, welcome to our ongoing coverage from the Ideal Homes Show here at the RDS, brought to you by Permenant TSB. You can catch us on idealhomes.ie and catchexpo.com. We've lots of people to meet between now and 5 o'clock this evening, and lots of people popping in as well to give good advice in the whole area of grants, the whole area of security, and if you like, giving you a rundown on the latest trends in the whole area of home improvement and so on. So lots of things to do between now and 5 o'clock this evening. But let's take a look at what's happening at the DFS Showcase.
The DFS Show House, that is like the main attraction, the biggest roller coaster of the Ideal Homes Show. Are you going to take us through it?
Yeah, sure, let's go.
Okay, let's go. So, we're starting here before we get to the kitchen.
Yeah, exactly. And what we wanted to do at the entranceway, I suppose, is the idea of the indoor-outdoor kitchen. So that's what we have here, and basically the whole window opens up, and the idea is that there's a kind of a bar out here, and whoever's inside can kind of chat, and people can sit up at the bar inside as well. So it's just that the whole house is basically indoor-outdoor. That was the kind of theme, and you see as we go in, like all the glazing from McMahon and Nagle opens up to kind of create that sense around the courtyard. So that's the first piece, I suppose.
I just have to say I love this because it's very inclusive. If you're sitting inside and you've got an area outside, sometimes you're totally separate and you're not part of the fun, whereas this kind of incorporates everyone, doesn't it?
Exactly, and it's funny because everyone says that you're being very optimistic about the Irish weather, but the idea here is that you can pull an awning out, and in Ireland the weather is can be terrible, but most of the time once you're out of the rain, things are possible. So that was the idea here, and it's global living, and the family here is meant to have come back from abroad, and that idea of kind of bring those ideas with them. So this is
fantastic. So we might venture into the kitchen now.
Yeah,
you might
sure.
Give me a bit of a rundown as to what's going on in here. This is fabulous. I love the light in here.
Yeah, no, it's gorgeous. So this is by Kitchen World, and basically what we were trying to do is showcase loads of different ideas. So you can see, that's where you kind of sit up, and that's the the link out to the outside bar. And one of the things in the kitchen was to try and use LEDs, I suppose, in a kind of a different way. And so it's all about ambient lighting in the kitchen rather than having loads of spots and pendants.
So nothing too harsh.
Nothing too harsh. It's about kind of, you can see around the island, there's LEDs under the kickboard. So it's all about a kind of soft ambient lighting. And then the other idea, which I think is really clever, is the Howard storage utility and pantry area. And in so many houses now, you just don't have the space to put in like a full utility room. We'd all love one. But if you have a look in here, it's just amazing.
Absolutely, I want one of these myself, so I'm going to wander over here very quickly. This is fantastic.
Yeah, I know it's weird to get excited about a utility room, but the size of it and the amount of stuff you fit
But you can hide so much in here as well.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant.
Very American in the beginning, but we're all getting used to this now. A lot of people have a utility room. They're being very practical, doubling up with a laundry room, aren't they?
And the whole thing is, it does all come down to storage. If you have stuff everywhere, which drives, I know, all our clients mad. If you just have somewhere to put everything, you can achieve this look.
Absolutely. So it's quite a modern look. Is this what's very popular at the moment?
I suppose it totally depends from person to person. Our clients, it ranges from kind of painted, more traditional kitchens to, this is kind of halfway between. It's not a high gloss, it's a flat painted door, but the idea is that it is a little bit more contemporary than something with more traditional paneling on it.
And the finishes as well. You pull it out, push it in. There's not many handles, and the lighting is very much a feature, isn't it?
Well, this is the thing. This is completely handleless, and the island was meant to be kind of the feature of the whole kitchen. And then you can see along here the same thing. It's very discreet handles and doors and everything. So no, it is a contemporary kitchen, and that was what we were kind of going towards, that idea of. But this can be repainted, so it's actually a painted modern kitchen, which is kind of a nice feature, I think, as well.
Absolutely, and knows it's long wearing, you can change the colour, and then you've almost changed the look entirely, haven't you?
Exactly.
Fabulous. We might move on to the next room now. Where are we going next?
So we are going into the kitchen dining area. Sorry, not the kitchen dining area, the dining area, stroke sitting room, stroke home office.
Love how this feels like we're outdoors already. It's great.
So the idea here was that, I mean, so many homes are, all open plan, but I think, a lot of people have problems with your kind of dining table on top of sitting room area, and then people are trying to, almost have their laptop, so it's a study area. So the idea was to try and kind of create a dining space in here, and then over on the other side we have almost like a study niche. So it's about just separating stuff out. So then the main sitting room area is completely open, and then the big thing about here is the whole indoor-outdoor space. So that those McMahon and Nagel bifold doors open up completely, so you get this fantastic kind of flow of space from indoor to outdoor.
Very seamless.
Exactly, and we have like a two-way fireplace outside. So that's the kind of idea, that all these spaces open up together. So you're not just standing in your house, looking out at a garden, that the garden is in your house, and that actually becomes almost like a room in the house itself.
It is, it's a feature in itself. It's another part of the house where the family can spend their time.
Exactly, and the thing is with the little study area, what we wanted to do is, rather than having a laptop on your lap in the on the couch, it was just to create a little space that's still connected in here, but that you could pull a door across, if you wanted a bit of privacy, and there's a window seat looking out into this kind of a smaller, quieter garden. So it's just about taking, I suppose, all the peripheral pieces. They're all interconnected, but then they're all a little bit separate as well. So it kind of...
And maximising your space.
Exactly. And like the dining room area was all about creating a kind of a cosy space, and kind of, with a good ambience, so that people kind of feel, that they can sit in there and chat, and, but it's not right in the middle of the dining, in the sitting room space. So
I have to say, window seats. I mean, would you call that a window seat?
This would be called a banquette.
A banquette, okay. But these are really popular. This is something I'd love in my own house, because you sometimes feel like you're in a restaurant or you're in a cafe, and it's just so much more cozy. I don't know why, but it is.
And then, I mean, like we've just shown, you could just throw a load of cushions in there for fun. But one of the things we did, floor design, these are actually laminate floors, which is amazing. It's very hard to tell. And
absolutely, I wouldn't have guessed.
No, and they're incredibly hard wearing. But what we wanted to kind of show is that, like, laminate doesn't have to just be a flooring. Like in here, you can see it kind of laps up the walls, and it creates the banquette. So it almost kind of creates a cocoon, like a timber cocoon in there. So it's just, we asked suppliers as well to come up with kind of more innovative ways of using what is a fairly normal product, but just to use it maybe in a slightly different way.
How budget friendly would something like that be then?
A laminate, I mean, I think you're looking at under €30 square metre. So, that's a big difference between that, and the next step up would be just say, a solid or an engineered board, which, they kind of start from about 40, 50, 60 for a good. And so, laminate is a fantastic alternative, and they have gotten so much better than before. I think everyone has this image in their mind of the kind of,
I can see it in my mind's eye now.
It looks like a lino, whereas this, you've got the V groove, and you've got this, and these are really wide plank long boards. So
and obviously very easy clean too.
Yeah. I don't know how many thousands of people are going to trek through this house, but it'll look exactly the same as it does now. So
fabulous. Can we go over towards the living study area, because I particularly like this little enclosed space. Like you say, my sister, if she's studying, she's stuck up in a bedroom upstairs, and she's just totally not involved with what's going on in the rest of the home. But this is lovely. Yeah, so the idea is there's a little window seat for, thinking great thoughts. That looks out into this quieter garden there. So the thing is, the idea would be that you pull a door across if things got too noisy in here. But I think, when people have laptops and stuff, they don't want to be up in a study, and they don't want to be up in their room. So the idea is there's still that connection, here between the two, but yet you're a little bit separate, and you can pull a door across if you want to. And not even just a study. If you want to go and get a book or read the papers with your coffee, you're looking out onto the garden at the same time.
Exactly. And then just with the colours, you see the fantastic art that we have everywhere. What we really wanted to do is just show how, pieces like this and the ones up there can really, pull a whole colour scheme together. So I suppose we actually had kind of an idea in our heads what we wanted to do, but we took a lot of the colours off off the actual pieces of art. They're all from SoFine Art Editions, and the idea of the wall up here was that it was a kind of rotating art exhibition, so that you don't permanently fix anything to the wall, that you have these kind of picture rails that are lit, so if you get bored of those paintings or you want to swap them around, you just take them down and put a new one up. So it's that notion of nothing's permanent and that you can change it depending on your mood or what you want to do.
In terms of colour schemes then as well, do a lot of people tend to focus on the artwork first and they adapt their whole living room and pull in the colour schemes and materials around that?
I think it kind of depends. I mean, I suppose in the back of our mind we wanted to use colour in a really strong way, and that the colours in here, would be a mixture of obviously more neutral colours like what we have on the wall here, but then really, really strong colours, like that's a colour trend, Eleanor Anne, which is a really dark purple. We actually have it in our office. I love it.
It's very rich and very luxurious, isn't it?
Yeah, no, it's great. And the thing is I suppose with the artwork, we saw the Broadhaven one on the wall there, and it was about pulling colours out of that, and it kind of worked with the whole scheme as well as the rugs and rug art, which is where all the rugs came from. So it's kind of a mixture of everything. If you have a good piece of art, you can pull colours in off it.
Fantastic. We're going to rush through into the garden now.
So the garden is done by Laura Whelan of Cara Paving, and the idea was to kind of have a pergola walk and then obviously form a kind of an indoor-outdoor area here, which would be the dining area with and you could put like couch and seating around and an indoor-outdoor fireplace. And then the thing is to come around here, and we wanted to create a kind of a quieter area in here, and the cam room and the study and the kids' den all kind of look out onto this, and there's a water feature there. This is meant to be our Zen garden.
Very zen, especially with the yoga mats in here on the right.
Oh, yeah. And and we went for, this is actually fake grass, which we ran inside into the wellness room for.
Is that popular?
It is, I think, for a lot of people with kids, I think.
Sorry, it's open to the public now. You'll have to do the second half either tomorrow morning or this evening or something. I'm sorry, but it just can't. It's 10:15.
Okay.
The public are in.
Yeah,
That's fine.
Okay. This is for families. I think it's really popular because in the wintertime, waterlogged grass is, I think, everyone's problem. So I mean, people do put it down because it's like an all weather. I mean, I think it's it's fun here.
No, absolutely fun. Definitely the operative word. Let's go in here very quickly.
Yeah. So this is the kids' den, and the idea for here was that there's the two kids' bedrooms are quite small and compact, and the idea was to take the space out of there and bring it in here so that they have a kind of a shared den. So it takes the kids, I suppose, out of the main sitting room area. And what we did here was a Skype pod, and this is the Skype and gaming pod, and it's like the kind of modern equivalent of a telephone booth.
Every kid's dream, in my opinion.
Yeah. So the idea is that this is kind of, a lot of people have family around the world, and that they need, so they connect by Skype, or if someone's trying to watch the TV, that the other people can be in there gaming on their whatever they want to do.
It's very 21st century, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because we're all Skyping our relatives, Skyping our friends who are living abroad, and this just kind of makes it a real kind of little cubby hole. It's wonderful.
no,
it's
it's
almost
so
Harry Potter-like, if I can say that. Sorry, under the neath the stairs where the kids are just. I can tell they're going to adore that.
Yeah. So, and then actually what we're using here is we've got instead of a TV, we've put up a projector screen. So, and then I guess walking through here. See if we can do anything like that.
So lastly, we'll just do kids' bedrooms.
Yeah, but these are the two kids' bedrooms, and you see they're quite compact because most of the room is given over to their shared space, because we felt like they're just going to sleep here, so why have huge bedrooms when you could actually just bring it into their own shared space. And
Absolutely, a modern playroom inside.
yeah, and then just walking through here, there's been such a move towards kind of mindfulness, and everyone has busy lives, that to take a bit of time out and actually have a room in your house where you can actually do that. So this was just some fun. There's a projector which you can kind of do exercise or yoga apps on, and then the idea here is that you can do golf putting, you can do yoga, you can just sit and think great thoughts. But the idea is to have this room especially for taking it easy. No children allowed.
I kind of want to come back here and just sit here for the evening. Downward facing dog, just do a few
Exactly.
Pilates
And we just
moves.
thought this is fantastic. This is actually from Monart. Donald Sweeney Carpentry did that for us, which I think is fantastic.
It's beautiful.
Everyone needs one of those in their house. And then the last piece is just the master bedroom, and we have a dressing room into the master bedroom. The idea here was a kind of a dark cam colour, so that, you know, it's all about outside and the garden, and just keeping it really simple so that people really kind of enjoy the space, but it's, you know, very relaxing.
Very calming. A lot of natural light, like you said before, with the very open window scheme.
Yeah, exactly. So there you go. That is the house.
Thank you very much. It's absolutely stunning, and enjoy the weekend.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Anyway, that's Laura Butler there at the DFS show house here in the RDS. Well, if you've just joined us here on idealhomes.ie or catchexpo.com, this is ongoing live coverage from the Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show here at the Simmons Court Pavilion here in Dublin. There's something like 230 exhibitors here in the RDS, and as I say, if you're buying a house, building a house, or indeed renovating an old house, this is the place to be. There's everything from advice on grants, there's all the latest in furniture, all the latest gadgets for the kitchen, there's all the new trends in furniture, and of course, for those of us who want to live in the ideal home, I suppose the whole concept of luxury and coziness is all about interior design. Well, to discuss this further, I'm joined on my left by Noel O'Donoghue from Tullamore in County Offaly, and from Rory Kelly, who's based in Dublin. Noel, I'm going to start with you. The whole area of interior design, I mean, traditionally when people buy houses, they just take what the builder gives them, but is there a whole new mindset now that people want a different kitchen, a different sitting room? They want to make their house look different to the house next door in the same housing estate, but the exterior looks the same.
Well, I mean, if you're going to spend a lot of money in a house, and you'd want to have your own unique stamp on it. So, I mean, obviously people will want to have a different kitchen than next door, and that's understandable. I mean, if I was spending 20,000 in the kitchen, I don't want to have the same kitchen as everyone else. And so it's important maybe to consult somebody like ourselves where you can get advice on how to make that unique home for you that suits you. I always say that it's not my job to impose my personal taste on a customer, but to advise a customer and bring out of them what their own personal taste is, so that the home is very unique and reflects them. You know, so.
Rory, if I can come to you, you're based in Dublin, and they say that when the economy lifts, Dublin feels it first, more so than the regions. Have you noticed an upturn in business, for example?
I would find I'm 7 years in business, operating. My house was my showroom, and 2 months ago I opened a showroom, which people, if I said that 2 years ago, would have thought I was crazy, but I would see the last 9 months, 12 months to see a phenomenal change, and not only people coming to me, but also the attitude towards costings. Irish people like nice things, and through the tough times, they still wanted nice things, but perhaps they weren't prepared to part with the money, or whatever reasons, they had other priorities. Whereas I think people are now back realizing that they're spending a lot more time in their homes. It's much more, so many more people entertain in their homes than they did perhaps 10 years ago, and therefore they like to have their home comfortable, they like to have it done nicely. Obviously, you know, the house is where you live every day. It needs to be done to the way you like it, and it needs to be comfortable, it needs to be elegant, it needs to be whatever way you want it to be.
Well, now, as I was saying, because you're based in Dublin and Noel is based in the Midlands,
Yeah.
do you have to, if you like, do a hard sell to get the business in, or by virtue of the fact that you're in Dublin, you have a potential audience?
I think there's a myth about that. Certain industries, certainly Dublin is busier. There is a myth about that, because Ireland as a nation, how we operate is, we talk to, if I need a solicitor, I talk to my brother or my best friend. If I need a doctor, I talk to my whoever. We ask our friends, who did you use?
Word of mouth.
Absolutely. Yeah. Who did you use? And so I work in Dublin, I'm based in Dublin, but I work in Clare, I work in Meath, I work in Kildare a lot. So I'm working in Blackrock, I'm working in Milltown, it's spread out. I live in my car.
Just don't come to Tullamore.
It doesn't come to Tullamore, exactly. But it's, yes, there is a big turn in Dublin, that is absolutely correct. But it's not just Dublin, actually. There are the borderline counties that are the same. And people are back doing things. For 7 years, people stopped doing things, and now they're back doing stuff.
I think there's a confidence there that wasn't there, obviously, 5 or 6 years ago.
Well, I was just going to come to that.
Yeah.
I mean, how tough have the last 4 to 5 years been?
I mean, I'm still in business, so I survived, and it was a struggle. I mean, you were doing jobs, people were coming in and they wanted to do X, Y, and Z, and half the time they decided not to do anything at all, or if they did, they were only going to do, you know, a small portion of that. And it was all about budgets.
Yeah.
Now, it's not that there's a huge volume of customers coming into the shop, but the people who are coming into the shop now are coming in and they're doing the full project. Do you know, they're not scaling back on everything. There's more confidence. Do you know, before they could have probably done the job, but they just didn't feel that maybe spending that kind of money was appropriate given the uncertainty. But I think that there's a lot more certainty now, and definitely there is a change.
I think what's wonderful about now, how it's changed, in that pre the recession, it was crazy, where a helicopter would land in the company that I worked in or whatever, and I'd be whisked off to wherever to do a house. That's all gone, and that's wonderful, because
thank God.
It's gone, because it was crazy. People are now more real about their money and what they're spending and what they want to do. They're looking for value for money, but they are willing to spend whatever it costs to make their home the way they want it to be.
I would have been in business now, Rory, before the recession. So to me, we're at a level now where it was like sort of maybe, you know, 2000.
Yes.
You know, like that. You know, there was a movement going upwards, but not that hectic.
I wasn't in business then, but I was working in the design for somebody else.
Yeah.
So I'm completely aware of the
Yeah,
fact that it went
but
crazy and came
I prefer
back.
the level that we're at now, rather than
wonderful,
I don't think
absolutely.
anybody wants to go back to where it was.
Not at all.
Sure. Just getting away from the recession and the economy and so on, I'll come to you, Rory. You know, when you go into a house,
Yes.
how difficult of a challenge is it to try and make this particular sitting room look completely different to the one you did the day previous, you know, 4 doors down?
Well, that's my favourite part about my job, actually, because there are lots of interior designers who are excellent at what they do. Absolutely, you couldn't fault them, but they have a look. So if they're going to make your sitting room, or Noelle's sitting room, or my sitting room the exact same, that's what they do. My mantra is very different in my business. Depending on the house style, the people and their personality, the functionality of the house, if there's children, you tailor every job to the client, to what they like, and that's what I love about what I do, because every house is different.
Well, I mean, they might have antique furniture that's, you know, is heirlooms or whatever that they're not going to part with, and understandably so. So you're always given limitations, or a lot of the time you're given limitations, and each limitation will throw up a new idea, a new scheme, and it actually can make it challenging but more creative.
The most challenging limitation you'll be thrown in any house is light. So if it's a north-facing room, or you know, if it's the main living part of the house and it's north-facing, trying to create a beautiful living space in a dark environment. Because we live in Ireland, we have grey skies. You know, we have to have, and grey being such a popular colour at the moment in the trends, it is a lovely colour, but it's not actually a colour that's probably best suited to Ireland.
Well, to a northern facing,
yes,
yeah.
Okay, listen, we're going to leave it there. I could talk to you all day about this, but before I let you go, if people want to get in touch with you, you have a website, no doubt?
It's rorykellyinteriors.ie, yes.
And
noelleinteriors.ie.
It's pretty simple, it's straightforward at that. Noelle O'Donoghue and Rory Kelly, thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much indeed.
So that's the whole area of interior design. Check out those websites. And as I said, if you're anywhere in the RDS or the Ballsbridge area throughout the day, indeed tomorrow and Monday, we'll pop in. We've got all the latest trends in the whole area of home improvement. Everything from the latest colours and schemes and furniture in kitchens, sitting rooms, bedrooms, everything from ceilings to advice and insulation. It's all happening here at the Simmons Court Pavilion here in the RDS. And as I said, between now and 5 o'clock this evening, we'll be talking to more guests in the whole area of home improvement and the whole area of home building as well. Okay, we're going to go back out to the floor, and Laura has been visiting the Jackson Walk stand.
Thank you for letting me have a quick chat with you at your exhibit. So tell us a little bit about what you guys do. You're a little bit different. You do residential, but you also have something unique that you offer.
We do residential, we do detached houses and extensions, but we also have this model called citizen development, where we invite groups of people to come together who buy a site together and they develop without using a property developer. So they save 25% on the cost of the house. They get an opportunity to be involved in a collaborative design process, and they save all this money, and it ends up being a really interesting, sustainable community because they get to know each other so well through the process. It's like this pre-charged sense of community. So it's a model that's used throughout the world. Like in Germany, I think 100,000 people have been housed this way. So we've been trying to introduce it to Ireland, and we've got a huge amount of interest. There's actually a pilot project running in Fish Amble Street for 4 houses, but we'd like to see it become mainstream. I think in Berlin, there have been 200 developments with 50 or 60 houses each in it. So there's great potential in it.
Absolutely. And tell us about the market. How have you found the market over the last year or two?
It's definitely improved. And I think you see it at shows like this. There's more architects here. There are more people back on. There's obviously a little bit more money around. There's a bit more confidence. I think over the last few years, most people have been doing things like extensions, and you even see it in the RAI stand there that the theme is extend and renovate, which is part of that older thing. But I think there are more people now interested in actually going ahead. There's this expectation that prices are definitely rising, so it's worth doing it. And because there's a little bit more money and more mortgages available, they're able to do it. So
people still want value for their money though too. And just there's a gallery of some of your work over here. What kind of designs do you specialise in?
I'd say you'd call it modernist to some degree.
Quite contemporary?
Yeah, it's contemporary and it's very, very simple, plain lines. But I think every architect has to be able to kind of accommodate the needs of a particular client. And while we'd have a certain aesthetic and a certain thing that we like, I think every architect must be able to respond to what a client wants. And we regard ourselves as being very participatory. So we will kind of listen very carefully. And we should be able to do it in most styles, but bring things to the client that maybe they haven't thought about themselves. So that's our approach to it.
This particular element here, that's not something I would think of myself. Is that kind of the kind of things you would suggest, perhaps a little bit more aesthetically pleasing?
I think what we'd like to do in the beginning is challenge a client. So we'd put a lot of things to them. That there is actually charred timber. So it's timber that has been purposely charred, and what it does is it acts as a barrier against the weather, so it cannot rot once that's done to it. It's interesting, it's black, it's a very black and white graphic sort of aesthetic. Not for everybody, some people love it, but I think the thing to do in the beginning is challenge as much as possible. Put a lot of options out there and then just maybe expose them to some other ideas and then maybe draw it back in to meet the thing they're really comfortable with.
Have you been to the Ideal Home Show before?
We have. We did it last spring, and even there's a huge difference between last spring and now. Like I think we've tripled the size of our stand between the two. There was a lot of activity at the spring show, but already today we're finding that it's even more. There are people who are more likely to do a project now, I think, than just talk about it. So it's good.
Brilliant. Always best to leave it on a positive note. Greg Jackson, thank you very much. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. Now we're just going to head straight down here and speak to another architect, Fergus Flanagan. They're regulars at the Ideal Home Show, and they specialise in high-spec residential. And they're just over here to the left. They do one-off designs. And I just want to speak to Fergus himself, if I can interrupt him here for a moment, about what's different in the market. He's a very popular man, is Fergus. Hi Fergus, how are you?
I'm very good, and yourself?
Good, thank you. Talk me through the galleries here. It's very, very clean, very chic looking.
Okay, I was away for 12 years and I lived in a vineyard region of Germany. So when I came back to Ireland, I noticed that Irish architects were missing the gap in the market. And that's what they designed houses that when it rains, you stayed in. And to me, that was just gross stupidity, you know? So for example, you'll see in a lot of our houses, we'll actually pull the roof across so you can actually sit outside and you can actually do things like have a barbecue, you know, and we're often hearing people saying, oh, I'm going to have a barbecue, I hope it doesn't rain. Well, this is what we should have been designing for from the scratch. We should have the best covered terraces, you know, and there's another one down there that we did in Malahide here. And then once we started designing these things, we started noticing that it's still a bit nippy in summer, you know, so we start putting in outdoor covered terraces there with external fireplaces that double up as barbecues. And then even from there, we took it a stage further, where we rendered a wall and we used the projector to have an outdoor cinema. So a lot of this stuff actually doesn't cost a lot of money. It's just about clever design.
It's value for your buck, but it's also, you're getting an extra room or two out of your home.
You are, and what our clients tend to tell us is that actually it's the most used room in the house, you know, so that's where it is. And again, this stuff isn't expensive. This stuff is really relatively cheap, you know. But again, people can start their summers earlier and end them later.
How have you found the market of the last 18 months?
Especially in the last 12 months, we started seeing a massive pickup. There's a real demand, there's a real confidence out there. And I think people also through TV programs are expecting more from their architects. So it's actually quite good. It's a healthy environment out there, and the market's quite strong.
People are definitely getting more choosy, aren't they? Because they're less willing to part with their money. If they are going to part with it, they want to do it in the right way.
Well, they can do it. That's the good news. You know, they don't have to settle for something that's second best. You know, they can actually get what they want and get something really tasty and good without a massive premium. Like the builders' prices are still quite low. You know, so it still is a very good time to build.
What are you offering clients here this weekend?
Well, this weekend we're looking at, we're doing a design session, and at the design session we actually come out to your house and designing the house. And what we tended to find was clients didn't know where to start. So they didn't know what they could get for their money, so we wanted to bridge that gap and make our clients informed. So at the design session, we don't just design, okay? We actually run them through their budgets, and there's loads of questions people don't even know they should be asking, like, do we have to move out, or can we stay here during the build? So we're able to look at it from the micro to the macro, and that's what we're offering for €300.
Fergus, thank you very much.
Andrew, it's nice to
and we will throw back to Ken in studio.
After this. There you go, that's Laura Butler there out of the Jackson Grok stand here at the Ideal Homes show here at the RDS in Dublin. If you've just joined us on idealhomes.ie or catchexpo.com, this is the Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show coming to you live from the RDS here in Dublin. There's something like 230 exhibitors here offering all sorts of advice on everything from new kitchens to new doors to new floors to new bedrooms to gates to driveways, anything that's involved in the whole area of either constructing or renovating a house. This is the place to be. Well, I suppose when it comes to building new homes, we all want a house perhaps that looks different or stands out or is easy on the eye, and of course that boils down to the skill of architects. Well, to get a feel of what's happening in the whole area of architecture, I'm joined here on my left now by David Flynn and Claire McManus. David, I'll start with you. First of all, do you sense businesses picking up?
Absolutely. I think there's been an awful lot of movement, I'd say in the last 18 months. People that might have spent the previous few years dithering are either moving house or else deciding to do something with their own houses. People have more confidence to do stuff, and also there's a greater awareness of what people can do to their own houses. So I think at a variety of different scales, from very small jobs all the way up to larger residential developments, there's definitely more activity, and of course we would love to see that continue.
Claire, if I can turn to you, you're an architect yourself. Do you specialise in any particular area of architecture, or are you just the so-called the general architect who can design anything from a doghouse to a mansion?
Well, I would consider myself a general architect that can turn my hand to whatever design challenge comes my way, but over the past few years it's been in the home renovation extension area of the market.
Right, and how is that whole area, if you like, evolving? Certainly since things like the SEAI grants came in, a lot of people are involved in retrofit and dry lining and so on. How is that whole area, if you like, functioning at the moment?
Well, there's a lot of interest and movement in that area. I think people see the value of investing in insulation, in draft proofing and various other measures to reduce their heating bills. Also kind of at a government level, there are a lot of new initiatives responding to various EU legislation to encourage people and to insist that people move towards better insulated homes, towards, I suppose, kind of a global desire for carbon neutral homes and the sustainability. So I guess where people, when they're actually doing work to their house, where they'll find that is that there's minimal standards for the amount of insulation you need, the kind of windows you can use, the amount of glazing you can have, the type of boiler you can put in. So it's becoming a little bit more restrictive, but it's all towards the goal of I suppose, sustainability and stopping climate change. So that's where the kind of the big picture is coming down to bear on the ordinary house.
And how does activity here, we'd say in Ireland, we'd say compare with Britain? I mean, I was in England recently, and the whole notion of retrofitting a house wasn't on people's agenda. It's not in their face in the same way it's here. There's a better awareness of retrofitting here than there seems to be in England, for example.
Yeah, well, I'm not really sure exactly what's going on in other parts of Europe, but you do get the sense that in Ireland we're a little bit quicker to follow EU directives and EU legislation. You know, I remember, I know I'm from a farming background originally, and I know that in France they don't seem to follow the EU directives as quickly as we would in Ireland, but we're certainly leading the charge. And there's been new energy efficiency legislation, Part L building regulations. That's been updated 3 times in the last few years, and it's going to be updated again in the next couple of years. So we are leading the charge in terms of energy efficiency.
Well, David, on that very point, if I can go back to you, when people ask you to design a house, I mean, is energy efficiency, if you like, top of the priority list?
I think there's 2 different types of people. Say somebody who's looking at a new house will be thinking about the BER rating and looking at it on the basis of numbers and rating. But what I'm finding increasingly is a lot of people come into me and say, David, I want a warm house. And that's all there is to it. And there's an awareness now that you don't have to live in a cold house. And people are, of course, living longer, want to stay longer in their houses. And they're aware of broadening technology as well. So it's definitely, I would say, there's definitely going to be huge growth in that area.
And of course, this must be great news for architects. The fact that all new houses, as Claire was saying, are obliged under, if you like, legislation to be as carbon neutral as possible, and the whole BER cert is crucial in terms of either renting out a house or resale and so
Absolutely.
on.
I mean,
this must be all good news for you guys.
There's quite a big gap, but I suppose since BER regime came in Ireland, there have been 350,000 or slightly over that BER is carried out, with an average rating of D2, which is a little bit low. If you compare that to, say you're building a new build now, you'll be aiming to achieve an A3 standard at least. So I think the challenge in Ireland in the coming years is going to be to somehow bridge that gap, and there is going to be a difficulty in addressing the large Irish stock. If you think of 2.5 million properties that need to be seriously upgraded, I think the government are going to have to pull out the stops a little bit more to make it happen.
Just one final question, and I'll put it to you first and then to you, but overall, you sense that business is picking up, not only in Dublin, but around the country?
I would say so. There's probably more property transactions happening in Dublin, but I think across the country, I would say in terms of renovation market, there's definitely an awful lot of activity.
Claire?
Yeah, I'd agree that it is picking up, but I would definitely see a 2-tiered system. I mean, my practice is in theory based in Dublin and in Roscrea and County Tipperary, but there's been little or nothing in Roscrea for the last number of years. So I think the cities are picking up a lot. A lot of the rural areas and the towns, there's still a long way to go before that pickup will be seen.
Okay, Claire McManus and David Flynn, architects, thank you very much indeed for joining us there. That's good news there, in so much as the graph seems to be going up rather than remaining flat, albeit that a lot of activity is happening in the Dublin area, but hopefully as the economy improves, it'll spread across the country. Well, if you've just joined us, you're watching ongoing live coverage from the Ideal Home Show here at the RDS on idealhomes.ie. We're also on catchexpo.com, and we'll be talking to more people between now and 5 o'clock this evening about trends that are happening in the whole area of home building and home improvement as well. Okay, let's go back out to the floor, and Laura has been visiting the Circa Design stand.
So everyone is a lot more environmentally friendly and environmentally conscious when they're thinking about building and design these days. You are a one-stop shop essentially. You're contractors and you're architects, but you focus on passive design. Tell me, what is that?
Passive design is where the external envelope is much more, has no thermal bridges, cold bridges, energy efficient, less consumption of waste and every part like that.
That sounds too good to be true almost. Can you show me around?
Yeah, what we have here is, this is the system that we are proposing here.
Okay.
To keep it very simple, we have the structural element, which is the concrete wall, with the external insulation coming to here. We broke it down to the element that a dwelling, we need 2 parts, structure and thermal. We simplified it down there, keeping the amount of trades to a minimum, and very effective both in cost and running costs and all of that. Giving a assured quality to our clients, and a lot of this is actually manufactured off-site, so the reduction of wet trades, air tightness, so it's a very quick, effective and method of construction for clients. And
what about air tightness?
Air tightness is not an issue in this one, as we have The building there is actually sealed on the bottom by air tightening, and the walls. The concrete itself is an airtight membrane in its own manner and speaking. So we can actually see both the insulation we have in the walls and the floor, making the full passive external envelope, even from the windows. So the whole building is actually airtight and actually almost, well, it is wrapped in a full external insulation. It's like wearing a big coat.
Oh, I like the sound of that. Talk to me about time span.
Time span on this one is, as a lot of it is the main walls and that are actually manufactured off-site, i.e. in factory conditions, we have control onto it, so we're less depending on weather and wet trades and all of this, so the drying out period is very much quicker. A typical house that we have built there quite recently, the walls were actually erected in about 2.5 to 3 days. So you can get an external envelope.
Fast movers.
Oh yeah. So it's easy to get the external envelope up and fixed, so all the other trades can happen into it as well. As there's very little moisture in the building, it will dry out much quicker, and part into it. You actually have a thermal mass through the whole building as well, but not too much. Enough, but not too much.
Enough, but not too much. I like the sound of that. Team, and are you based all around Ireland?
Yes, we do a lot of our work up the East Coast, from Wexford up to Dublin and various around other parts of the countryside. So we do quite different designs, and both from the design and the building and from the passive part to it. So yeah, we're creative in what we do in both design and construction methods. That's the main parts.
What seems to be a very popular design are you finding at the moment? What are people coming to you and looking for specifically? Or can you say anything specific, or is it across the board very different?
The way we work is the way we work at it is each client for what they want. We have to listen to what they actually want in their design. They have to live in the house. I don't. So we actually try to understand how and what way they want to live in their house, and that's, as an architect and a passive designer, that is an important part that I must do, to understand that. And then their designs are theirs. Their designs are their designs and what they want. So they're a happy client at the end of the day. They get what they want. You may not like it, I might not like it, but it's what they're after and what they want.
Quality service. Colin, thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Enjoy the rest of the weekend.
Okay, thank you.
Now we're going to head up this way. I'm going to take you to another energy efficient business up here. There's Grady Joinery. We might stop by them later on. But for the moment, we'll just keep on walking. And down this way. Now we are here at LVP Renewables.
Hi, how are you?
Hello, how are you guys?
Very good.
Thank you for chatting to us.
No problem
now,
at all.
can we step over here? You might take us through your product.
Yeah, no problem at all.
Because this is fantastic, especially for a temperate country like Ireland.
Yeah, well, I mean, I suppose the logic behind it is that it's a solar panel that will work in Irish weather. In Ireland, as you know, we get a large fluctuation in the weather, 4 seasons in one day, not just 1 year. So the panel here is connected to a small little compressor here on the front of the cylinder, and basically the two of them work in conjunction to give you all of your hot water every day of the year. So roughly down to, we found -2, -3, -4 degrees Celsius, you're guaranteed 100% of your hot water every day of the year. I know you can't actually pick it up on the camera, but we're running that there today. So the water there is hot to touch. You're gonna
Well, that's nice.
just be careful. But you can see there, the water's there running at about 50, 51 degrees at the moment. So it's set to heat the water up to 52. And when it heats up to 52, the system will cut out. And then when the temperature in the tank drops by 6 degrees Celsius, the system cuts in again. So it takes all the management out of putting on immersions, boilers in a household.
Very handy when you're getting up early in the morning and one of you has to get out of bed in the freezing cold.
There you go, there you go.
Will this heat my hot press?
Heat your hot press?
Fill my hot press.
Well, yeah. I mean, this replaces your existing cylinder, but you put that in. If that's not going to fit in your hot press, we can put in a slimline tank instead, and we can retrofit that box. That's called our soda box option. It's for the smaller hot press. A lot of houses in Dublin would be just smaller presses, so we need to sort of find a way around doing the job. But that's it in essence.
So it's absolutely manageable. Yeah. So the solar panels, they are very unique when you say 4 seasons in one day. Yeah. They're very, very practical. Yeah. Price point wise?
price point wise, it'll fluctuate depending on the situation, but what we tend to say to people is we go in with the worst case scenario in terms of a fully fitted package without asking any questions. A family of 6, you're going to range, the top range price going to be about €5,200. Now that includes installation, that includes plumbing, that includes VAT, it includes a new cylinder. It's before any incentives you may be able to get from the government. A lot of people may have heard of the home improvement incentive schemes. You can claim the VAT back on the product purchase in terms of tax credits. If you've already invested, if you already have a solar cylinder in place, the price can be as little as €3,500, and obviously with show discounts, it comes down a little bit from there as well. It just depends.
And you're fitting in one day, done and dusted?
Fitted in one day, yeah. And you can see we've fitted in every county in Ireland, so we're nationwide, but we've got distributors in Donegal, in Galway, in Tipperary, Cardo, Kerry, Cork, most places in Ireland. We can have somebody out to you. Normally fitted in one day, yeah, unless we run into weather difficulties. But apart from that, yeah, in and out in one day.
Super efficient. LVP Renewables, thank you very much.
No problem at all. Thank you. Cheers.
Butler out and about here around the RDS Simmons Court extension, talking to some of the many exhibitors here at the Permanent TSB Ideal Homes Show. Something like 230 exhibitors here from all over the island of Ireland, offering their wares and tears, so to speak, everything from new kitchens to new sitting rooms to doors, floors, gates, driveways, anything at all involved in the construction or renovation of a house. Well, if that's what you're into, this is the place to be this weekend. And of course, for those of us who do own a home, those of us who bought a home or renovated a home, and we have personal possessions that we either hold on to for sentimental purposes or for necessity, of course, we want to make sure that they remain there forevermore. But as we are well aware, there's been trends in theft in recent years, and it's a growing concern, particularly in provincial Ireland. Well, to discuss what tips homeowners can avail of to ensure that their property isn't stolen, I'm joined here now by Sergeant James Malone of Dunleary Garda Station. First of all, house theft, how serious of a problem is it?
It's a serious issue at the moment, Ken. Coming into the winter evenings, we do see a dramatic increase in the amount of burglaries nationwide, 25% increase in fact. This will be due to the darker evenings, people not coming home at night time, leaving the lights off, windows, blinds open, cars not in driveways. People or burglars would see this and they would notice maybe that it's an attractive proposition, that the house is empty, it's vacant. So there's little tips that we can do to prevent these incidents happening. I suppose my role as a crime prevention officer is to make people aware, to create a security awareness culture, not just within the house, but around and in the community as well, and have neighbours talk to each other, share information. If they see somebody suspicious in the area, to report it. If they see a suspicious vehicle, report it to the guards. The way I would approach in relation to the security of the house would be like an onion. The outer layer is your perimeter wall, your gate. Inner layer then would be your vehicle, and then your front door, and so on. The locks you have on your door, the alarms. We would notice that at the moment, over 40% of the burglaries are happening between 5 p.m. and 11 p.m. in the evening time. Jewellery and cash are the main items that are taken. Over €14 million worth of jewellery has been taken in the last 12 months, 7 million in cash. So 40% of all items taken is jewellery. So if you do have jewellery, make sure it's locked away. Make sure that it's not visible. If you have an alarm, use it. The amount of houses we go into and people haven't set their alarm. Close doors, close windows. I was at a burglary last week where the neighbour had left a ladder outside the front garden, and they used the ladder to rip the alarm box off the wall. So, if you do see ladders hanging around, maybe say to the neighbour, there are burglaries happening, keep the items safe and locked away.
Are there definite, if you like, do's and don'ts that help you to hold on to your possessions, to keep the thieves at bay?
Well, yeah. In terms of jewellery, if we discuss jewellery, it's always good if you have photographs of any expensive or sentimental jewellery that you would own, because if down the line we do recover it and trying to get it back to the owner, it's very difficult. And with the amount of jewellery that we are recovering, it's very difficult to get it back to the owner. So in terms of that, if you have bicycles, take photos of bicycles, take details of the numbers on the bicycles. Your vehicles, 1 in 4 cars that are parked in driveways are broken into because they're not locked. So lock your car in the driveway. Don't leave valuables visible. In terms of like prevention as well, if you are going away for a couple of days, tell the neighbour don't leave posts built up in the doorway. You know, a lot of people go away and with all the junk mail coming in, you know, it's an obvious sign to somebody that there's nobody in the house. You know, so.
We were covering the ploughing championships there in County Laois there last month, and we spoke to members of the Gardaí, and you know, there's a new trend now in agriculture, particularly in provincial areas, where farm machinery, for example, is being stolen, and the Gardaí are working with farm owners to, as they call it, mark equipment. Would you just explain what that is, how it works, and what people should do?
Well, exactly, Ken. We would work closely with the IFA, and a lot of the guards, by their nature, are from rural communities. My dad is a farmer, so we're aware that we're aware of this as a problem. There is a leaflet online that you can get. It's farm theft prevention, and it gives you the 5 top tips to prevent crime. And it's restrict access to your yard is the most important thing. You know, most farmers leave gates open. It's easy to walk in. You know. Ensure your yard is well lit. You know, now's a good time, and especially with your house as well, make sure the lights are working. Check all your sensor lights. Mightn't have used them during the summer. You know, now's a good time to check. As you said about branding, branding machinery, especially expensive machinery, tractors now are worth tens of thousands of euros. You know, mark them, record it. You know, if it's taken, give us all the details. You know, the more details we have, the easier it is for us to follow up. Take pictures of the machinery as well, especially with the likes of trailers. Trailers are a high commodity item that are taken a lot. People will drive into the farmyard, hook up the trailer, have wheel locks on the trailer to prevent this type of crime.
Somebody said to me recently that a new trend that's emerging is one where, for example, thieves are checking correspondence on Facebook. And somebody might say, I can't wait to go to Spain on my holidays next week, and that's a signal straight away that the house is going to be empty. Is that a growing problem?
Oh yeah, 100%, Ken. It's a big problem, and especially, you know, with kids, and you know, I suppose for parents just to be aware of what their children are doing on Facebook. Yeah, obviously don't say that you're going away on holidays for 2 weeks to Spain. I wouldn't be taking photographs of expensive cars outside the house or inside items inside the house. You know, if pictures are taken on smartphones now, you know, satellite imagery, or you know, you can locate where exactly the property is. You know, so there is a part on the phone where you can switch that off, so it disables your location, your GPS location. Yeah, Facebook, Twitter. You know, also we have a trend too where people are calling houses now, bogus callers, calling to the doors, calling to online, on the phone, even online, asking for account details, bank account details, you know. So just for the public to be wary, a bank will never ask for bank details over the phone. You know, so if somebody's asking you for your bank account details, don't give any details online. Bogus callers coming to fix your gutters, fix the tiles, do your gardens. Don't use reputable people to do your work. We have had cases where prices will be fixed at €200, and by the end of the week, that price would have inflated up to 2,000. And they'll extort the money, and usually they're picking on vulnerable people in the community, you know. So it's just for people to be aware of that, but that's happening at the moment too.
And have you noticed any, we'll say, trend in relation to theft in the cities and theft in rural Ireland?
Well, it's a nationwide problem, you know. It's like burglaries are up in Dublin, all right. Nationwide, they've remained stable. We have seen trends now where groups of 4 and 5 travel the country in cars. And they target houses, they go on a crime spree, let's say, and then they drive back at high speed back into the city. We have certain operations, the guards have operations in force at the moment to deal and combat that. We have a lot of arrests so far in 2014, and that's it.
For the season that's in it, what advice would you give to parents who they themselves are trying to advise their children in relation to Halloween activity?
Okay, well, we see a huge increase in calls out on the 24/7 lines on Halloween night. You know, it's I suppose for parents, know where your children are. If your children are going trick-or-treating, go with them. If they're wearing dark clothes, consider maybe putting a high visibility jacket on them. Very difficult to see in the States around country roads, kids dressed up as witches or whatever, you know, dark clothes. If they're at bonfires, you know, stand well back. Don't throw any flammable liquids like diesel, petrol onto bonfires. Sparks can travel a long distance in a bonfire, so make sure you stand well back. The most important thing is to know where your kids are. Be careful with fireworks. You know, every year A&E see an increase in children coming in with with injuries to their hands and fingers, especially burns. In some cases, children lose fingers. So if they do happen to have fireworks, make sure that they're handled properly and with care.
Just one final question, James, because a lot of people will be buying sparklers and bangers and so on over the next few days, and some people don't realise until they've actually purchased a particular item, they open the newspaper and they realise that it's illegal, the particular product they've bought. So how do they know what's legal and what's not?
Well, it's kind of a grey area, Ken, really, because it's unless you have a license, you're really not supposed to have fireworks. And we all know that nearly every second house will have fireworks. So the only thing I would say is that if you do have them, or if you find your child has them and you're not sure, contact the guards, ask the guards, if your child has a box of bangers, contact the guards and say, look, I'm after finding this. Sparklers, they throw out intense heat and they result in a lot of burns. People think they're not dangerous, but they really are. So my advice would be, if you do have fireworks, handle with care.
Okay, Sergeant James Mahone there from Dunleary Station, thanks very much indeed for joining us, and some very good advice there in relation to protecting your property in your home, and indeed things to watch out for over the next few days as people celebrate Halloween. Well, if you've just joined us, you're watching ongoing live coverage of the Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show, coming to you live here from the Royal Dublin Society here in Dublin. We're at the Simmons Court Pavilion. There are 230 exhibitors here at the show, and people are flooding into the building. The numbers are certainly starting to swell. I know that they'll grow and grow between now and 5 o'clock this evening. We have lots of people to talk to. We're going back out onto the floor, and Laura has been visiting people at the Finland stand.
Jerry, hi. You are here from Bespoke Sofa Company, and tell us about that, because it's a branch of a very well-known business that's been in business for 20 years.
Yes, over 20 years now. We started off very, very small, a small Irish company. We started off with one two-seater couch at a kind of a weekend market, so very, very small beginnings, and slowly but surely, we've built it up from there. We've recently opened in Dunleary, approximately 4 weeks ago now. We're on Lower Georgia Street there. We also have a presence in Drogheda.
Fabulous. And can you take me through some of the select pieces you've chosen to feature here this weekend?
Absolutely. Well, this beauty here, it's kind of visually stunning because of all the beautiful rich fabrics we've used. This would be considered to be a four-seater, but actually, like all of our couches, we manufacture them here in Ireland and we make it to the inch. So the client can tell us, well, for example, you're quite tall, so if you came to visit with us and you wanted a deeper seat, you simply say so. If you want the arm a little wider, longer, taller, absolutely everything is adjustable.
So every whim is catered for?
Every whim, absolutely. God bless the women. We manufacture them in Navan. We use kiln-dried beech frames, so really, really high quality stuff, screwed together properly, masterfully joined really. Not to be compared with the mass-produced pieces. Every one of these is individual to the client. It takes 14 days to produce them from date of order to date of delivery. That is almost unheard of.
That's insanely quick turnaround, isn't it?
Yeah. The only way that would be possible is if you have your own frame shop and really talented team. Very blessed to have a good team.
Can I ask you about this piece behind you, because this is my favourite?
Oh, okay. Absolutely. This piece is called the Gettysburg. It's basically our take on a Chesterfield. The Chesterfield model is a very classic thing. Nothing new there, with Chesterfield's been around forever, but this is our take on it. Chesterfields traditionally were not always necessarily that comfortable. Very beautiful, but not always comfortable, because they would have a low back on them. This is our take on it, where we've increased the height to allow a bit more comfort, but keep the Chesterfield look.
And again, a four-seater?
This one's a four-seater. Again, we make it as a one-seater, 1.5 snuggle chairs. We do two-seater, 2.5, 3, 3.5, and 4, and an L-shaped corner version of every model that we offer.
And what about materials? What tend to be the most popular materials? Because I know there's geoprints now. It's not just the classic crushed velvet anymore.
No, not at all. In fact, with this one, okay, we followed the classic idea of the old aged leather to be in keeping with the Chesterfield look. Beautiful deep button work gives it, again, an aged feel, but yet we've gone for a kind of a relaxed, informal country cottage theme here. We know the grey linen, of course, is very much of the now. The one to your left and to my right, this one is called the vintage model. This very traditional style is very popular right now. You'll see it in most interior design magazines. However, this is our take on it, a little bit chunkier in the arm perhaps than some, and we've used a specialized filling. So, you know, it's very much of the now, the grey linen.
It's all the little details, like you say there, the specialised filling that all add to this kind of 5-star quality service.
Correct and right, yeah, absolutely. Every client has their own take on what is comfortable. For people of a longer leg, we find naturally the deeper frame suits, but equally if you had this too deep for a person who wasn't as tall, they're going to struggle. So we can just tailor it to suit them.
Thank you very much, Jerry. Bespoke Sofa Company, the best of luck.
Thank you so much.
Enjoy the weekend. Thank you very much. Right, we are going to head down this way now. We're going to continue on this sofa, soft furnishings, interiors theme. I'm going to bring you down this way if you don't mind. On our left, we've got fine line furniture, absolutely stunning handcrafted wooden table pieces. They're beautiful. We might check out that later. And on the right is what looks like a little sauna. I'm definitely going to sit in there later on when it quietens down. So we're on our way now over to Killian. How are you? Hi there. So, Fine Line Furnitures, how are you doing?
Not a bother now, thanks. Yeah, great.
This is a family business, which is what I love and what makes it really, really special. So you guys have been in this and you know it and you know your customer. Tell us about that.
Well, I suppose down through the years, we've been in business 35 years and we've gotten to know what the customer wants. So because of that, we're able to make things longer, higher backs, can make firmer seat cushions. As you can see in this model here, we've made a split seat cushion here. No, you're grand, we are.
She's obviously very comfortable, which is a good sign. Perfect advertorial.
So we do split cushions here, we do pillow backs. Also we've done different models over here. So we do contemporary and we also do quite traditional stuff. We do L shapes and corner groups. So I suppose over the years we've decided that the customer is king, and whatever they want, we make a product based on that. So we have a huge range of fabrics you see here as well. So that's only a tiny selection. We have over 2,000 fabrics that you can choose from, and you can put them on any design you like.
And you are a specifically Irish company?
Yeah. So our mother and father set it up 35 years ago, and myself and my brother are now involved. So we've just opened a showroom in the Long Mile Road last year, and we have a big showrooms as well in Emo, where we manufacture everything ourselves.
Congratulations.
All right, great.
And what do you find the most popular material from a customer coming in now?
Certainly wool. We bring in a wool from Italy actually, and
the grey and purple is beautiful.
Yeah. It's very, very hard wearing, but I suppose the trends have been that people really want something that's hard wearing. So the kind of taupey colours, kind of beiges are coming back in a way that I suppose people enjoy them.
Listen, Killian, thank you very much. We'll go back to Ken in studio.
There you go, that's Laura Butler out and about here at the Permanent TSB Ideal Homes Show. If you've just joined us, well, welcome to our ongoing coverage from the show here at the RDS Pavilion in Dublin. It's good to have you along, so to speak. We're looking at all areas of the whole area of house building, house renovation, house design, everything from kitchens to sitting rooms to doors, floors, driveways, gates, you name it, anything that's involved in the whole area of house construction. We're going to be dealing with it between now and 5 o'clock this evening. Now, you may not be aware that in recent budgets, the government has put in place I suppose you could call it an incentive scheme for people to, if you like, renovate their home. If you renovate an old house and you can produce all the receipts, you can get a few quid off your tax bill. And to explain it more, I'm joined by Pat Molan from revenue.ie, or the Revenue Commissioners as they're sometimes known. Pat, can I begin by asking you, what exactly is this scheme and how does it work?
Well, thanks for having me this morning. The incentive was introduced this time last year, and the incentive was introduced to kickstart the construction sector, which had been in the doldrums for a good number of years, particularly at the lower end. And the incentive really was to get homeowners to invest in renovations and repairs of their main home, the main property. The incentive was that they would get the 13.5% back, which is in fact the VAT. And the conditions really are that they have to engage with tax compliant contractors. So I suppose the principles behind the incentive were to kickstart the construction sector, to reward the homeowner for investing by giving him the incentive, and then also to address elements of the shadow economy by rewarding the tax compliant contractors who can engage in these repairs and renovations. So a number of issues, but it has been hugely successful in the last 12 months. Came in the 25th of October last year and will run until the 31st of December 2015. And the types of repairs and renovations really practically include everything that you could think of, from windows, doors, patios, pavements, conversions, extensions. If the VAT rate is 13.5% and it's on your main home, it will qualify by and large for the incentive.
Okay, so just supposing I do renovation work on my own home and I get the plasterers in and I get the electricians in and I get the carpenters in and I get all the various people in that I need to, if you like, modernize my home. What's the process after that?
Okay, I suppose there are a couple of little qualifications. The first qualification is that there is a minimum spend, and the minimum spend is €5,000. So once you hit the €5,000 mark, either for one piece of work or a number of pieces of work. So when you mention about the plasterers, the electricians, the plumbers, you can have multiple contractors, and if the sum of all the bills come to 5,000, you're entitled to the 13.5%. What happens is that when you engage with your contractor, the contractor will enter details of the works that he's about to carry out on the electronic HRI system. There is no paper involved, it's totally electronic. Once the works are entered, that in itself is proof that the contractor is tax compliant, because in the background our system is checking that he is tax compliant. If he's not tax compliant, he won't be allowed in. So when the homeowner can see that the works are actually on the system, that's proof that the contractor is tax compliant. So any payments then that the homeowner makes to the contractor will also be entered online. So the homeowner then can check as the job is progressing that all the payments that have been handed over are actually entered on the system. So the homeowner can go in separately and look to see that everything is in order. When the work is completed then, the following January, the homeowner can go online and apply for the tax credit. And the tax credit then will be split over 2 years in equal proportions. Of the tax credit is 13.5% of the total value of the works carried out. There is an upper limit of 30,000, but in most cases that upper limit is not hit.
Okay, you mentioned there the contractor, and of course what you want to know is he, she or they genuine and not a cowboy? Are they complying with the law? But if somebody goes down and spends an absolute fortune in Woodies or the local DIY hardware shop, is that all fed into the system as well?
No, unless you're getting a renovation works, maybe a kitchen installed by a business, regardless of what that business is. But if you go and buy the goods yourself, you're going to be paying 23% VAT. And if it's 23%, it won't qualify for the incentive. So it's in the homeowner's best interest that all the goods and services are done through the contractor to avail of the 13.5%.
Okay, so it's only, if you like, work done through the contractor, but not work done by yourself, as I say, running off to the local hardware shop and buying, everything from screws to lats of wood to tables and chairs. It has to be what's on the contractor's invoice.
Absolutely, correct.
Right.
Correct.
Now, what about a scenario whereby you could have aging parents and a son or a daughter decides to pay the bill to renovate their mum and dad's house? Who is liable there to make the claim?
Well, one of the principles behind the incentive is that it has to be on your own home and you have to pay for it yourself. So unfortunately, if a son or daughter pays for renovation of maybe an aging parent's home, that does not qualify for the incentive. It has to be on your own main home.
Right, your own primary residence.
Correct, correct.
What happens, you say it's all online, but what happens in a scenario whereby I ask a builder to knock a wall and put in dry lining and the bill comes to £5,000 and I apply online? Will you seek proof of the actual physical invoice?
No, we'll take it on trust.
Right, so in theory, somebody could apply online and say a job costs €10,000 when in fact it might only have cost €5,000.
Possibility, but both parties would have to be colluding in it, and as always, revenue will always reserve the right to check on something if we have any suspicions that there's something going on. So there's always a risk that if somebody colludes to defraud revenue, that you will be caught. But we've always operated on this on a basis of trust, and that's the way we continue to operate, with reserving the right that we can check, and we do check periodically as well.
This scheme was announced, I think, in the budget, was it 2 years ago?
Last year.
Was it last year? Yeah. You know, in terms of awareness, it's not exactly in your face every day. It's not coming at you on the television or in the newspapers. So in terms of the take-up, how popular has it proven to be?
Extremely popular now. We've had stands at all of the major exhibitions like the Ideal Homes, and we are kept busy all of the time by people coming up and asking questions. So there is a general awareness out there of the incentive, but obviously it only comes to the fore when it comes to the time of actually carrying out the works.
Right.
We haven't actually advertised it because we didn't think there was a need to advertise it. In fact, it sells itself, and even certain businesses in the kitchen installation, they're actually advertising it on TV and the radio as a means of selling their own product.
And I suppose if a plasterer goes into one house to do a particular job that's going to be, if you like, taking full advantage of the scheme, when he or she or they go into the next house 10 doors away, they'll tell that person that such a scheme exists, and a word of mouth sort of culture emerges from that.
No, certainly from our own checking, there is a high degree of awareness out there, but obviously it'll only come to the fore, as I said, when it comes to thinking about doing renovations yourself.
And just finally, Pat, just based on the scheme, do you sense that things are picking up in the construction sector either naturally or as a result of this scheme?
Absolutely, and I can give you a very good example, because I'm looking at doing a bathroom renovation myself, and I called into 2 separate bathroom installers. I didn't mention who I was or anything about the incentive, and they said the earliest we could fit you in is early next year. He said we're full up, our installers are fully booked up to Christmas. And I said, why is that? And he said it's both installers said the same thing, it was because of the incentive.
So it's working?
Absolutely. Can I mention just one thing before we finish that? In the budget this year, the home renovation extension or incentive has been extended to include landlords and rental properties. So that will again expand the scheme and help to stimulate renovations in the rental sector as well.
And of course, if anybody is here at the Ideal Home Show, you have a stand over there in the corner, and you'll give all the advice that people want. And if they want to get advice online, the address is?
www.revenue.ie.
And it's all there?
It's all there.
Okay, that's Pat Molan there from the Revenue Commissioners talking about that incentive scheme that's in place to assist people renovate their homes, make them energy efficient and so on. And there's also a chance of getting a few quid back as well in terms of tax credit. So a scheme that's certainly working and proving popular, not only for the home owner, but indeed for people in the construction sector. So it's a sort of a win-win-win for everybody involved. And of course, if you do get your home or your kitchen or your sitting room renovated, you can also save money in terms of the amount of heating oil, for example, you would burn throughout the winter. Now, I suppose to stay on that theme of energy efficiency and so on, our reporter Laura Butler has been out on the floor and she's been talking to people at the Energlaze stand.
So Dave, we're here at Energlaze. You guys are different in the sense that you can replace the glass as opposed to the entire window.
Yes, yeah. I suppose over the years the idea always was that when you wanted more efficiency with your glazing was to actually upgrade the whole frame. What we actually do is we simply change the glass. We put more energy efficient glass in, replacing in general PVC windows, and we get a 64% more efficient unit in there when we just change the glass. The beauty of it is it means that you have no redecorating. It's a simple job. In general, a 3-bedroom house, we're finished in one day, and that's it.
Doesn't sound as messy either.
No, it's not at all by any means, and that's why, as I say, one of the big things as well, what people like as well, is that one is there's no redecorating, and the second indeed is the fact that we're actually gone in one day in most situations. Now there are other elements to the work that will actually take longer to do, such as if we're upgrading somebody from a timber window and bringing that from single to double. It's a much more labour-intensive business, but people expect that. They know what they're explained to them in advance what they should expect.
So energy saving, talk me through the elements of that in terms of the windows and the glass.
Okay. Without confusing anybody, but the simplest way to actually put it into perspective is that with old double glazing, what you have two things going on. The 2 panes of glass in it are in general a float glass, what's called float. And the float glass was designed to keep out wind and rain. That's simply all it did. With more efficient glass, what happens is that the glass will actually keep the heat inside. Old windows will allow heat out. The old glazing units will allow the heat out and the cold in, whereas the new units, what they will do is the inner pane of glass actually reflects the heat back into the room. The gas, the argon gas within those glazing units, which the old ones did not have, will actually restrict and indeed pretty much stop, but we would say restrict the cold coming in, to a point where as you have your hand near old inefficient double glazing units, you will actually feel the cold coming through, whereas with the new one the gas actually restricts that coming in.
So they are energy saving. What about cost saving? What's the general price point?
In terms of from if we were to take our what is the majority of our business, which is changing double glazing in PVC windows, to compare that to actually changing your windows, we're looking at a cost of around about 50% of the cost of that.
Fairly significant.
It is, yeah. But I mean, there's other benefits as well, obviously, in terms of the fact that you're actually going to cut down on your fuel costs, and it's probably a dangerous area to talk about exactly. But I suppose really, if we were to take a figure of an average home of about 300, but there's other elements you've got to take into account, and that is your home is actually going to be much more comfortable. In terms of where with the old double glazing, typically what the problem that people have is where rooms will go cold in about 40 minutes after they have turned off their heating, and that heat is actually being lost through the glazing. Lost my train there for a second.
It's okay. No, it's lost through we're live actually, but that's all right. I just want to quickly look at this, right? Because
yes.
I just spotted this solar control glass.
Okay.
So just very quickly talk me through this, because obviously everyone is so concerned. Solar is something that everybody seems to want in their homes,
right,
isn't it? So how practical is this, and how much do you save?
Okay, solar control is designed really for your conservatory, for a conservatory roof. What we're going to do with, you can move anywhere from from reducing your heat, the terms of the heat. This is what the problem that people have with conservatories is they're too hot in the summer and they're too cold in the winter. By a combination of different double glazing units, what you can do is you can actually reduce that heat coming in, and in terms of the solar gain, while at the same time the inner pane will actually act much more efficiently in terms of actually stopping the heat going out in the winter time. But again, you have your argon gas in there, which restricts it coming in as well.
So instead of freezing in a conservatory in the wintertime, you can use it and it'll be quite pleasant.
Yeah, well, it's not just in terms of the winter time. We've got to look at the summer times as well, where we actually reduce this. We also have a product whereby we'll actually put a solid roof on, but that's a different conversation completely.
Right. Just to round things up, what are you offering Ideal Home visitors this weekend?
Well, we have a competition where there's a competition which if they come to our stand, they can enter into the competition, and we will give them a significant contribution towards the glass upgrading.
Dave, thank you very much and enjoy the rest of your weekend. Lovely to meet you.
Okay, right, thank you.
There you go, that's Laura Butler out and about here at the Ideal Homes Show, brought to you by Permanent TSB here at the RDS in Dublin. Well, we've been talking about all aspects of home improvement, home construction and so on, but indeed, you know, one thing that sometimes tends to get overlooked is the actual interior look of a house. And of course, once we get our house built or our house purchased, we want what's called, if you like, a cozy feel and a modern, if you like, luxurious feel to our home. And one woman who may be able to tell us about what's happening in that sector is Rona Rowe of Hedgerow Interiors here in Dublin. Thanks very much indeed for joining us, Rona. Rona, interior design, we had a few interior designers on earlier on. They're saying that they sense there's a pickup in business. Things are starting to move again. Do you get that yourself?
Definitely is, yes. People are more confident, and we're seeing that with people are really taking time to look at doing up their houses, you know, their sitting rooms, their dining, and they're changing big ticket items like kitchens as well. So it's great, yeah. Okay,
your own catalogue is very trendy indeed, lovely modern furniture and so on. In terms of what you yourself do, if somebody goes into you and says, you know, take this lampshade here, I want a particular design, do you go away and design it yourself, or do you have to go through a mountain of catalogues to pick out a particular design or fabric that you want that fits the needs of the customer?
Well, the great thing is we've actually already done that. So we have developed a hedgerow look, and we do offer design service, but we really have done the work for the customer already with our look. So they can come in and they can see everything from lamps to, you know, furniture. We have a certain colour palette that we work with, which is a lot of the lovely stone colours, the colour trend, historic range, the Farrow and Ball, and we work on wood textures, you know, antique or maybe sometimes a little bit of lime wash, and we'll mix that with a deep paint colour. So it works with most people's furnishings at the moment and looks really well with antiques. You can mix the look up.
And do you find yourself that like more and more people now are going to people like you to give their interior a distinct look rather than popping down to Dunn stores or wherever and sort of taking what's available on the shelf?
Well, we make it very easy for our customer. It's not easy to know how an interior is going to end up looking if you have to go in and order your sofa and pick a selective fabric and then wait for 2 months or 3 months for that, and in the meantime go and select other, you know, big pieces for your room, and at the end of the day it all comes together. It may not end up exactly as you had visualized it when you were picking the first item, the sofa. So we have everything there, and you can see it. We also keep stock, so there isn't that time lag. You can literally go back with everything that evening.
Now, just from looking at your catalogue, it strikes me that what you offer is very upmarket and is targeting, if you like, you know, an upper middle class market, if you like. So have you felt the squeeze of the recession, or is the market that you're aiming towards, you know, pretty flush with cash and so on? Have you noticed a drop in business, or has it been pretty steady during the recession?
Well, firstly, I'm delighted that you think our product looks very upmarket and is lovely, because I found that when I, as an interior designer, would go to look for pieces for my clients or myself, found that you know, it was a little bit intimidating, and it was expensive to go and buy lovely pieces of furniture. And I said, well, really, why does it need to be, you know, so expensive, basically? So I went and I started sourcing the manufacturers myself, and I, you know, I have fabric manufactured if I'm looking for the right particular type of fabric. I'll have furniture to my own designs made, and I'm conscious of the size of people's apartments, or if they've larger space, I'm thinking about that, and colours. And cutting out the middleman means that we can actually keep our prices very tight. And I find that very appealing, and our customers do too.
Now, talk me through your catalogue, because as I can see, you're selling everything from tables, chairs to bedside lamps and
Shades.
so on. Talk us through the range of what you offer.
Okay, well, we start with the very building block of a room. I think a room you start from the floor up. So I have great big area rugs, and they're made out of jute, which is a lovely soft feeling under your feet. But they're big, huge area rugs. I was sourcing these for jobs, and I was paying maybe 2,000 plus for them. So I now have them manufactured for myself, and we sell them for 750, and that's a huge saving. So we put that down first. It fills a room. I have two basic colours, a lovely, deep brown and a lovely grey, silvery grey. So you can have your sofa sitting on that, your coffee table, and we build it up from that. We supply then a range of sofas, chairs, coffee tables, dining tables, chairs, and then I'll have lampshades manufactured, and they'll fit in. It's very hard to find a lampshade or a lamp that will work with the scheme. So to overcome that, I choose the linen myself. I'll have it pleated up and maided, or more unusual fabrics, and they'll all work with ours or anyone else's schemes.
What items are proving popular?
I think our rugs have always been really, really popular. Our big area rugs, our lampshades have always been really popular as well. We have a range of rattan, and not many people do a very good rattan range. There's lots of storage in rattan as well, and they're great. They're a great balance to a lot of wood in a room, or a lot of a big sofa and soft furnishings. You need some other balance, and it's a different material. So that's worked.
Do you sense that there is a greater desire, I think is probably the appropriate word, for people to have their interior looking different to the house next door, even though the exteriors look the same because they're on the same estate?
I think it's very important that people have their own personality within their home. I mean, it's what makes you feel comfortable. You want to open that door and just feel, I've got it right. I love coming home. And yes, it is, but still it's great to have the building blocks, the groundwork done, and then your art is not going to be the same to your neighbours. You've got a different taste. You're going to have a different choice of maybe primary colours on your walls or your cushions, and you're going to have your own eclectic taste. But the building blocks, it's great to have help with that area.
When somebody pops into your business and says, I like that particular lampshade and I like that particular table, do you in turn get asked to visit people's homes to see if what they're purchasing fits in with the interior and the colours and so on? Or is it a case of people just go and they buy because they themselves know what fits in?
Yeah, we get both. We do offer a design service, so it's €250 if somebody comes out to your house and they spend time and put a scheme together. Or you can come into our house, and really we feel we've made it accessible and easy. We've done the work. We have room settings. It shows all the items and the scale in situ. So you should be able to be your own designer as well, but we're there to give a helping hand.
How important is an event like this for you to showcase what you're offering, if you like, to a wider market?
It's very important. It's very important to build your name and make people aware that you are there. Sometimes people don't feel there is enough choice in Ireland. I mean, it's great now that you can get onto the internet and you can get onto sites like made.com and Who's, and you can order products, but it's good to know that there is a company that is just down the road, and you don't have to wait for months and months for your products. They're there.
Yeah, but what I'm trying to get at here is, because you're based in Carrickmines, people in the Carrickmines, Cabinteely, Foxrock area would be familiar with what you offer. But there would be people here today from all over the country and wouldn't be aware of what you sell and what you offer. So what I'm trying to explore here is how important is it for you that a market beyond South Dublin can see what you have to offer?
Well, it's important. I mean, it is always about building awareness, and being here helps us to meet people, new people who we wouldn't ordinarily meet. Again, we're a new store. We've only opened up in this location in Carrickmines, so it takes time for people to understand where you are. Everything is on the internet now, as well as us. So yes, it's good to be here. It's great to meet people as well.
Yeah, the sector you're in, and indeed all sectors in the home improvement area have suffered during the recession. Did you find it tough to stay afloat during the recession, or was it because of where you were based and a nice, you know, a lot of nice middle class people, high earners in your area? Was your business ticking along steadily, or was the recession like having its impact on you as well?
I don't know anybody who wasn't affected in some way by the recession, and it's good to see that things seem to be changing now. But we've always kept our overheads, you know, low, and run a very tight ship. That's the way we run our company. And again, as I say, I go directly to manufacturers and I work with them, and that keeps our prices down. So we've always been very competitive.
Yep. Is it difficult, do you mind me asking, for people like you to make a distinctive mark when the likes of the Dunn stores of this world are sort of putting in more luxurious items for, you know, home interiors in their stores, and because they're buying in bulk, they can sell, you know, with very, very low margins of profit for them, but you have to, you know, maybe sell a little bit, you know, a little bit higher margins to make it worth your while because you have a smaller operation?
Well, I always think it's harder to turn a big ship around. You know, we can be very agile, and I work very hard at trying to understand what trends are coming down the road and making sure that I'm ahead of the game, and that we have the latest styles in fabrics, in accessories, and we don't change our core range a huge amount. I mean, they are really good, solid, unique designs by me, and they're great building blocks. So no, I'm not too worried. They do their thing, we do our thing.
Well, on that point that you mentioned there about trends, I mean, do you have to constantly keep an eye on what's happening in Britain, America, on the various TV shows and so on, and see what the public are going for?
I do. I mean, there's a few really big trends coming down the road. One is the late David Hicks, who's a great English designer, and he had fabulous designs, very strong geometric designs, and in the late 60s, 70s, early 80s, they were all there in London and around the world, but the colours were very orange, brown, with sort of plummy tones. Now all that look is coming back, all those patterns are coming back, but they're being modernized, and we have different colors coming into those. So we have some of the orange coming back in accessories, you know, like this, but they're also going to be used with lovely cobalt blues, and you can see those coming down the catwalk already in accessories like shoes, bags. That's all going to be in about, you know, a year, 2 years, but they're here to stay. And then of course we have the other big trends like open plan living, the IoT, the Internet of Things, how all our devices will connect with our appliances, and that's all coming down the road and here to stay.
Just one final question, Rona. If people want to get in touch with you, I presume you're on the internet?
We are.
Yeah?
Yeah.
And who do they contact in terms of, you know, purchasing? Is it you yourself, or do you have a purchasing person that deals with all queries from the public?
Well, we have a great team at our store. So ideally we'd love to see people come into our store and we can talk to them, and there's no better way to find out how to help somebody than actually standing in front of them and talking to them. So come to our store, but you can see our products online, and we do have a catalogue as well.
Very good. Okay, Rona Rowe of Hedgerow Interiors, thank you very much indeed for joining us, and indeed Rona is based at Carrick Mines in South Dublin. Well, if you've just joined us, welcome to our ongoing coverage of the Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show, coming to you live here from the RDS here in Dublin. That's revolutionary for the whole area of glass when it comes to heat preservation. Tell me what you have and how it works.
Well, our business basically is replacement of glass. Traditionally, when people wanted to upgrade in terms of the insulation on the window area, they would have replaced the whole window. What we do is we actually replace the glazing units. And one area in particular is on the old sash windows, where people have been looking for a solution for many, many years. We now have a solution for that. And it's a double glazed unit. It's the slimmest double glazing in the world. It's only 6.4 millimeters wide, but we actually get down to a U value of 1.1. Now, people with the single glazing in their existing sash windows will have a U value of 5.8 on that currently, and obviously a lot of cold there. So what this product will do, it actually reflects the heat back into the room, but it also will restrict the cold coming in.
Well, now, particularly in old farmhouses around the country, as I know myself, we had the old sliding windows where the top half sort of slided down, and there was always a little gap where heat escaped and drafts got in and so on.
Yes.
So, I mean, if the wood has a gap, is that really going to save you?
Traditionally, what we will do is that one of the things that, again, what you spoke about, alluded to other areas of the house, but certainly in terms of glass, heat goes through glass 8 times quicker than it would go through any other, through an equivalent area of wall, for instance. So therefore, the actual area of the glass, traditionally, those sash windows are about 1 metre wide by 2 metres high, and in some of them, as you mentioned, the older houses, especially country houses, they may have 2 or 3 of those windows in a room. So there's a huge loss there. You speak about with regard to draft, but those units, those sashes are actually taken out for us to put the new, take out the old glass, the old putty, put in the new glass. So while we have those down, we do draft proof them.
So before I move on to Fergus, what's in this glass that's not in your average pane of glass?
Well, the first thing with it is the size of it. That's the first thing. In terms of your normal old, what we would refer to as the older double glazing, which is anything from about 8 years back, 7-8 years back, they were made up of what was called float glass. Float glass allowed heat out and allowed cold in. Traditionally, the larger double glazed units now, what they will do is, as a barrier, they will actually reflect the heat back into the room. They have an argon gas which restricts the cold coming in, and with this normal traditional double glazing, we don't actually take out the frames, we will just take out the glass. It's totally innovative in terms of the marketplace out there. And going back to this here, you actually get all those products, all those elements in this 6.4 millimeter unit that you get in the larger double glazing units.
All right, so this is a whole new concept in terms of heat preservation.
It is, yeah. Well, the product has been in Japan for about 10 years. It has come to this side of the world in about the last 2 years. It's through Pilkington Glass in the UK, but it's here. We've taken on board for about the last 12 months, and we are driving it forward now at this point.
Very good. Fergus Flanagan, I'm going to turn to you. You're an architect. I suppose the obvious question is, have you noticed an upturn in business?
Yeah, we certainly have. We started to see it begin to turn. It was not this January, the January before. It was slowly beginning to turn around, but we're seeing some real momentum at the moment. You know, there's still value in the market out there in terms of builders' prices, albeit house prices are rising astronomically at the moment in Dublin. You know, so there's still good value out there, and people need to move on. They've been holding off for 7 years. People's lives go on. They have more children, or they want to downsize, they want to upsize. So people's lives have gone on, even though the recession has kicked in and has knocked the market to touch, you know.
Well, just based on what you say there, is what you're saying, you know, a scenario where people had money, they were, for the want of a better description, saving it under the bed and waiting till things picked up, and they sense that now is the time? Or is it just that because there's been a recession for 5 years, it's just simply that the next generation of home buyers are coming into the marketplace, and that's what's driving the upturn in the economy?
It's actually an interesting point. It's actually twofold. We actually seen a new layer of professionals coming through who are highly qualified, mainly from the computer industry actually, and they're being very, very well paid. They haven't got any legacy debt, and they're in a great position now to buy at a low price and do something with it. But we are also seeing some sort of fatigue as well, and some sort of, with the recession, and we're also seeing people are growing in confidence. Everywhere around, we're seeing signs of growth within the economy, and it's certainly, we can see it on our stand here today. The numbers of people are certainly up.
Of course, the big argument is that this so-called improvement in the economy is a Dublin phenomenon, but that provincial towns in Galway or Tipperary or Donegal or Cavan, they're not experiencing the same level of activity. Do you sense it's just a Dublin thing, not a provincial thing, simply because, in London, for example, when things are bad in Manchester, Leeds and Bristol, everyone flocks to London because that's where the jobs are. The same is happening here. Is that what you're finding?
It is. We got an architect's practice in Dublin and Wexford, so we primarily cover the whole east coast of Ireland. And it is, at the moment, it's still very much concentrated within the Dublin and the periphery. However, that's a historical thing. Historically, Dublin always came back first, and about a year to 2 years later, it started to spread out from there. So we'd expect to see it in about another year's time, starting to spread out from Dublin.
And even in the architecture business or the profession, a lot of architects found themselves out of work because of the stalling in the construction sector. Do you sense a lot of those people are coming back in, or is the new generation of architects people who are just coming out of college and the timing is right?
It's an interesting point, because at one stage it was 1 in every 2 architects were unemployed, and if they could, they left the country. They realised this was a 10-year situation, and a lot of them have gone into Australia, Canada, whatever. So we've lost a lot of our architects, and then people who weren't in a position, who had families and who were settled, were able to pick up the pieces from there. But we haven't seen them returning yet, but we are expecting that to happen.
And was there any decline in the number of people entering the, architectural colleges, simply because the sense was, oh, well, that's not the business to go into anymore because there's no house building going on, there's no office building going on? Was there a decline in the numbers?
There certainly was. It's reflected in the points that you need to achieve within your leaving certificate to gain entry into architecture. So that was certainly reflected there. We definitely see that. The difficulty with architecture, though, is it takes 7 years to become an architect. So it was the ideal time to start architecture when you're down in a recession, because 7 years later we're starting to come out of it, and it's the ideal time to be coming out of college at this stage.
Dave, if I can go back to you, the game you're in, it's very much, a growth area. This whole thing of, heat preservation in the home and dry lining and BERs and so on. Do you sense that, in fact, there's a greater awareness now about the need to, prevent drafts from getting into houses, to stop heat escaping through walls and so on? Are we, as a nation, more aware of the benefits of energy preservation?
I think certainly we are, from all age brackets. There's definitely a huge awareness of it. Number of reasons. Obviously, in terms of the cost of fuel, and people are looking at the cost of fuel and where it will be in 5 or 10 years' time. So, in fairness, people are taking action now. From our point, as I said earlier on, we were innovative insofar as that rather than people having to go to the expense and indeed all that goes with that in terms of redecorating for replacing their windows. We were innovative 2 years when we actually put the company together and have driven it now to a point where we're an extremely busy company with just last replacement.
Very good. Okay, well look, Dave Lawler of Enner Glaze and Fergus Flanagan of Fergus Flanagan Architects, thank you very much indeed for joining us. Okay, we've lots of more people to meet between now and 5 o'clock, but there's a number of events happening here around the Simmons Court pavilion here at the RDS in relation to the whole business of grants, incentives to, as they say, make your house more energy efficient. We're going to pop out to the Better Energy Grant Scheme Theatre where there's a presentation taking place.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Conor Fitzpatrick. I'm here on behalf of SCAI to discuss the Better Energy National Upgrade Programme. We have a stand down there at K45. Can you hear me now? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? We're here on behalf of SCI to discuss the Better National upgrade program. We have a stand down there at K45 with loads of brochures down there which details the grants. We also have brochures down there which shows all sorts of facts on the brochure, so we'd love you to come down and visit us, and we can give you any more of information that you like. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do a small presentation, and then you can take some questions from me if you want to come up to us or come down to the stand. So the first part of the presentation is going to be about SEAI. It's top tips to save energy in your home, benefits of upgrading your home, grants available, better energy home scheme, and the warmer home scheme, and how you can contact SEAI. I mean, there's two things you're going to get really out of this: is the grants that are available, and there's a free scheme with the warmer home scheme, where you can get, where if you have fuel allowance or qualify for FISC or job seekers allowance, you can get a free scheme which will insulate the attic for you and pump the walls. So that's a very good scheme, so just keep an eye out for that one. So we'll just move on to talk about SEAI. SEAI is the Sustainable Energy Authority of Ireland. The role of SEAI is the National Energy Authority. It provides advice to the government, supports the energy upgrade energy policies, provides grants to improve the energy performance of homes and businesses. So that's really the role of SEAI. It does a lot of other stuff. Again, if you want to come down to the stand there, we can detail more of that for you. Top tips to save energy in your home. What we're saying is if there's heating thermostats installed, if you check it, and if it's above 20 degrees, if you turn it down by 1 degree, you can save 10% on your heating bills. So by just lowering that thermostat by 1 degree, you can save 10% on your heating bills. Again, windows is another major source of heat loss in a house. So much of the heat loss from a house occurs through the windows, particularly if they are single glazed. Now if you have single glazed or double glazed windows, single glazed is definitely a major source of heat loss. So what we're saying is you keep the curtains closed at night, and even in empty rooms also ensure that the curtains don't hang over the radiators, as that will create a funnel out through the windows. So if you just put on the windows so not getting damaged with water or condensation, it'll stop the heat going out through the windows. It's a small little tip, but it's a good one. And as what we're saying is, if rooms you're not really using, keep the curtains closed in them as well at night time. Doors, again, another major heat loss category is close the doors to separate the heat and non-heated space. There's no need to spend money heating rooms that you're not using. So just keep the doors closed and keep the curtains closed on them as well. Lighting, turn the lights off and leaving the room. Again, we're just emphasising if you can use low energy bulbs, they use a fraction of electricity rather than ordinary bulbs. Again, just like use low energy bulbs. There's lots of different types of low energy bulbs out there. Again, your suppliers will give them to tell you what type to use. Again, appliances, switch appliances off rather than leaving them on standby. They will save you up to 20% on appliances energy use. And if you have heat from a television, turn off your lights when you're leaving the room. And we'll probably all use some lights left on when there's no one in the room. So if you can just get into that routine of turning lights off, turning TVs off, turning computers off if you're not using them. Particularly with say with washing machines, maybe fill your washing machines so that you're not going with half loads. So again, down the road you'll find that you'll be saving yourself a lot of energy with those types of tips. Again, if you look at all the brushes we have, these are only a few of the tips that we have highlighted here, but a lot of them are in these books. So we'd love to see you down at the stand. You can take as many of them as you want. Pass the word around. For more information, again, there's a very good website, www.sai.ie, Power of One. It's a very good website. It details a lot of stuff with tips and goes into the solar panels, all the oil boilers, things like that. So it's a very good website if you take the time to look at it. You'll find energy tips and videos along with the detailed information on how to save energy on lighting, electricity, heat and insulation, and renewable energy. And I just emphasize if you can just take the time out to go to that website, and there's phone numbers on it that you can call SEI at any time. The website will look like that. You've got homeowners guides, you've got the brochures that we have here and down at the stand. There's scheme documents which details solar panels, details on new boilers and also on how you actually insulate an attic. So you've got that type of information on the website. What we'll be saying with attics, if you can bring it up to 300 mil of insulation, and again that will be showing you details on that. So the next part of the presentation is the benefits of upgrading your home. Benefits: a more efficient home will be more comfortable to live in, be a healthier home for you and your family, reduce carbon emissions, and this is very good for the environment, and cost less to heat, light, and will save you money. Again, this time of the year we're all going into the long evenings now, the dark nights, so and particularly the temperature is going to be changing from here on in, so what we'll be saying is if we can make it comfortable and keep the house comfortable and also not having to pay too much to do it. So if you take a few of the tips that we've mentioned earlier, you'll have a way more efficient and comfortable home. The wall insulation, there's a couple of different methods of doing the wall insulation. You can do cavity wall pumping, you can do internal dry lining, and also you can do external insulation. So what we're saying that with any of those, you can save up to 20 to 30%, and there is grants available, and they're highlighted on this book that we have here down at the stand. And I have a few of them here if you want to come up to me afterwards, and you can take them. So they're all on this sheet there on that particular brochure. So those are the grants available for that. Roof insulation, you can save up to 20% on your roof insulation. Again, what we're saying with the attics is if you bring it up to 300 mil or foot of insulation, you insulate the pipes and tanks, you can save up to 20% on that. High efficient boilers, you can save up to 30% by changing your oil boiler or your gas boiler. Some of the boilers you might find they're in houses that might be 70 or 80% efficient. There is boilers out there now that you get at 93, 94. And again, if you go onto the HARP database on SEI, you'll see the information on boilers that you might be mentioning or trying to get. Again, it's that website. If you just follow that through, you get all that information. Solar panels, what we're saying is 60% of the hot water you can save on your heating bills as well. So by getting solar panels, it's very good. It's bringing it from a point where your cylinders might be at 0 temperature. You can bring it up to about 60 degrees on it, and that's going to really help your boiler. It'll mean that boiler will be only put on for a little bit, and then it'll be at that temperature and it'll cut off again. So again, long term is where the solar panels is going to gain you money. So those are the potential savings: 60% on hot water, up to 30% on the boilers, up to 20% on the roof insulation, and in the wall insulation then 20 to 30%. Again, we're trying to get the U value down on the walls from what we have there. Ventilation, this is another key factor in all of this. A proper home ventilated home ensures that your home is healthy and comfortable, safe when operating some types of fuel burning appliances, less prone to condensation and dampness, and avoids radon accumulation in affected areas. What we're saying there with fuel burning appliances, if you have an open fire or if you have a range, what we'll be looking to put in there is an open vent. Now, some of you might be familiar with the vents that are hit and miss, or you can open and close. The open one is where you can't open and close, and they have to be in where you have a fuel burning appliance like a range or an open fire. And the types of vents you'll be looking at are the hit and miss, the permanent vents, trickle vents, and window vents. You can see there the hit and miss ones, and the permanent vents are the ones which are open, and you'll find them in where you have an open fire or a range. Attic ventilation, what we'll be looking to do with the attic as well, you'll often find it might be a stuffy in the summertime, so we'll be looking to get vents in the soffits or vents on the slates themselves. Like there's two types that use the vents on the slates or in the soffits. Again, you'll be trying to get a cross ventilation where air comes in at this side and goes out to the other, so you'll be coming in one side, cross ventilation. So that's very important for attics. You might find you'll have condensation in the attic, and if you have a real stuffy attic up there, what will happen is it's an environment where dry rot will fester. Again, in the attic, with the scheme SEI we're promoting, you'll be insulating your pipes and tanks. It's one thing to watch if you do put insulation in your attic, that the pipes, the tanks, all that are fully insulated, because what you'll end up then is other problems. The pipes will be freezing. So rather than just doing it yourself, you do definitely need to have a qualified contractor look at. There's a few other things you'd be doing in an attic. You'd be putting a walkboard down to the tanks, and also you'd be watching if there's any electrical pipes that are covered. Say a lot of houses will have an electric shower. That pipe needs to be exposed to the insulation, have no insulation around it. And also if you have lights, recessed lights, the insulation needs to be pulled back from it because it would be a fire hazard. So things like that, there's a good bit of work that goes on with SEI in an attic, so it's not to be taken for granted. Again, like I said, the vents are soffit vents. You'll see them underneath the soffit, so we're putting in a lot of vents in there, or else you can see some of the ones with slate vents. So that's an important point on that. So the Better Energy Home Schemes is one of the things I just mentioned earlier. This is what grants are available. So when we're looking at with roof insulation, there's 300 mil of insulation you're putting in an attic. There's a grant available for €200 on that. The cavity wall, which is the pumped insulation, there's grants available for $250. Internal dry lining, $900 to $1,800, depending on the type of the house. Now the best way, if you go online and you're going to get this work done, a registered contractor will come out to you and he'll assess the house for you and see what type of grant is there. The external insulation then, again, if walls can't be pumped, if they're 9-inch cavity or if they're solid walls, you'll be looking at either external insulation or internal dry lining. So those are the type of wall insulation, and again it's all down to getting the U value down and making the house way more comfortable than it is. Some of the existing houses could be built in 2000 might have a small bit of insulation in there, so what you'd be looking at it, if there's a gap of 40 to 50 mil, you'd be looking at pumping those, that remaining space, and that's what that grant is about, the 250. Otherwise it's internal or external insulation. The heating controls then is if you're going to change your oil boiler and upgrade the controls, there's a grant available for $560 on that. Heating controls upgrade only for €400, and then the solar panels, you'd have a grant available for €800. So those are the grants for the heating controls. And when you do all of that work, or do a part of it, you'll be required to get a BER assessor to come out and assess the house. So there is a grant available for €50 for that type of work. So they're the grants available. You just want to look at them, and again they're all in that brochure that I had there, that green little brochure, so you can get that down at the stand, and we'd hope to see you down there. I'll go back on that in a little bit and just go on to the next one. How to apply. Literally it takes 5 minutes to get approval. The most important thing is get approval before you do any of the work. We've had some people come to the stand and they haven't got approval, so it's very difficult afterwards to get approval. So first thing you do is apply online, get approval. Literally takes 5 minutes, or you can contact SEI at 1-850-927-00. You get an application packed, and you can do that manually or do it online. It's very easy. There's 7 easy steps what we're saying to do it. You decide on the work to be done. So if you're doing the walls, the attic, or the oil boiler, you just decide on that work, pick an SEI registered contractor, apply for SEI grant, and get approval. Again, that approval is the key before you do any of the work. And when you get the work done, you get a BER assessor. Again, BER assessors can be got from a list which is online with SEI. So you just get an assessor that might be local to you or whatever, and get that work done. So you fill out a certain section of the forms. The contractor has a section to fill out. The BER assessor has a section to fill out. When you have all that done, you just send the paperwork back to SEI, and they will put the money for the grants into your account. So you have to pay the contractor separately. So all that money for the grants will go directly into your account. So the grants payments will be subject to terms and conditions of the following schemes. So the grants are available to houses built before 2006. So any houses after 2006 is not ready. You can't get it for this type of grants. So it's all before 2006. Grants approval must be done in place before work commences. Grants work must be completed to SEI standards. Grant work must be done by SEI registered contractors, and grant works including a BER must be published and paperwork submitted to SEI within 6 months of the grant offer. So again, you've got 6 months to do that from the time you apply to do the work. So 6 months should be quite adequate to do any of the work that we've mentioned. So again, they're the key points. 2006 grant approval, grant works was completed to SEI standards, grant works was done by SEI registered contractors, and grant work including a BR must be completed and paperwork submitted to SEI within 6 months. So if you have any queries whatsoever on that, all you'd have to do is call SEI. If you run into difficulty for some reason, just give them a call and update them on it. So just go back onto the grants then, just give you another flick at that. It's roof insulation, €200, cavities, €250, internal dry lining, like you see, €900 to €1,800, and external insulation, €1,800 to €3,600. High efficiency boilers, including the controls, will be €560, €400 for the controls, and solar panels, €800. So those are the grants that are available. And again, loads of brochures down at the stand at K45. Hopefully you'll come down to meet us. So that's one of the schemes that SEI are promoting at the moment. The other one then is the Warmer Home Scheme, and this is available to people which meet a certain criteria. Again, that's on that brochure that I showed you. The Better Energy Warmer Home Scheme funds upgrades in energy poor homes built before 2006. Again, 2006 is the key house here, or the key date, to make them more comfortable, healthier and cheaper to run. The upgrades are free to eligible homes, which include the following. So what you get on this scheme is attic insulation, cavity wall insulation, draft proofing, lagging jackets, low energy bulbs, and energy advice. Again, what they'll do is that the attic insulation, which again, there's loads of work that goes on in the attic between the pipes, the tanks, a walkboard, but it vents in the roof, and they'll make sure none of the cables are covered for insulation. Again, once you're using one of the SEI contractors, all of that comes on board. Cavity wall insulation, again, this is for houses that can be pumped in insulation. The scheme doesn't cover external insulation or internal dry lining. So there's walls where you have a cavity, maybe a 100mm cavity in there, or you could have 50mm or 40mm. The remainder of that cavity will be pumped with insulation. Again, this is a 100% free scheme to anybody who meet the following criteria. The scheme is available to homes which meet the following: owner-occupied non-local authority homes. So you have to be an owner-occupied non-local authority home constructed before 2006. The owner is in receipt of one of the following. So the fuel allowance, job seekers allowance for 6 months with children under 7, and family income support. So that's just one of those criteria. You might know someone that's salary or whatever that might be on that scheme. Fuel allowance, job seekers allowance for 6 months with children under 7, and family income support. We'd appreciate if you could pass on that information. Again, that's on that little green brochure that we have here, and all that information is online. How do you apply for the Better Energy Home Schemes? If you're eligible or know someone who could be eligible, contact the help desk at 1-800-250-204. Or once you apply, you'll be put on a waiting list for up to 9 months. Now that waiting list, that's what we're saying at the moment, it takes that. So the quicker you get on that list, the shorter the length of time will be. And a survey will be carried out. So SEI will send out a surveyor to your house. They'll check the attic, they'll check the walls, do an assessment of the ventilation also in the house between the roof, and every room in the house will end up with a vent of some sort of it. If there's bedrooms that don't have vents in, or you'll get a hit and miss vents. If you have a range or a cooker in a kitchen, you'll end up with an open vent there. So SEI surveyor will check out that, and that's part of the scheme as well, the vents, the attic, the walls, and all the insulation work. So again, that's 100% free at the moment, so if you could pass that word on. So energy suppliers then, all the energy suppliers at the moment will have their own websites, so they will give you probably a lot more information as well that you might be looking for. Your energy, electricity and heating can also provide additional information and service to help you reduce your energy consumption. So again, they will have their own websites, and you can get some of this information as well from them. So hopefully you look at that as well and pass on the word. Okay, that comes to, it's the end of it's a brief presentation, so hopefully it was informative, and thanks very much for your time. Okay, hopefully we see you at the stand. Okay.
There you go, just some of the sights and sounds here from the Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show here at the RDS in Dublin. We have lots of more people to meet between now and 5 o'clock this evening. People involved in home construction, architecture, design, and talking to people who fit kitchens, sitting rooms, driveways, gates, everything to do with the whole business of developing a modern new home. Okay, we're going to go back out onto the floor and let's take a look at what's going on at the Natural Stone Carpets stand.
So if you're looking for a different kind of tile that is low maintenance and hard wearing, absolutely talk to Chris of Natural Stone Carpets. Hi Chris, how are you?
How are you doing? Good, thanks.
Good. So tell us a little bit about what you do. You've been in business 25 years, so this is a product that's very knows what it's doing, absolutely.
Indeed, yeah. Essentially what it is, it's called a natural stone carpet, and it's a mixture of stone, depending on what sort of stone you want. You can go to coloured stone, or you can use a marble chipping. That's mixed on site with a resin, and that's troweled onto the floor, so it's like the floor is being plastered. That takes 24 hours to dry, and we come back then the following day and put a sealer on it, and the sealer takes a further 24 hours to dry. Once the seal is dry, it's 100% watertight. It's an anti-static finish, so it doesn't hold onto dirt or dust, so it's a very, very low maintenance finish. Right,
And what if you've got kids? Say I want to put my child down here and let them roam around on the floor. If they're in their, in their little skimpies or something like that, and they've got, hands, feet. It's very hygienic, isn't it?
Very hygienic. If you can imagine, it's like having one large tile in the area. So you've no grouch, you've no adhesive. It's completely seamless, so there's no joints whatsoever. So that actually leads to it being a clean finish.
So it's like a carpet. Let's just have a look here at some of the samples on the floor. This is very unique, isn't it?
It's very unique, yeah. The original product we brought into the country 25 years ago would be the natural quartz here. And essentially what that is it's river gravel, it's washed, dried and cleaned, and then it's actually mixed on site with our guys with a resin. And that's troweled down. From there then we can dye it into over 200 combinations, so you can mix and match any combination that you want. So it really is custom or bespoke flooring. So if you wanted a plain floor and you wanted maybe a border around the edge of the room, you can pick any colour you want. We've over 200 colours to choose from.
Fantastic. And it's very easy to clean.
Very easy to clean. That's the main thing about it. Most people are putting it in because of the cleanliness aspects of it. People have tiles or porcelain, which were quite popular during the boom times, and they're actually covering them with this finish because it's so low maintenance.
What I actually love about the fact that you can get something like a stone carpet is that it's not freezing. If I come down in the middle of the night in my pyjamas with no socks on, I'm not going to be frozen running across the floor.
Very, very warm. The ideal thing about the flooring is it's like an amalgamation of three finishes. So it has the heat retention of a solid timber floor, it has the seamless aspect of a carpet, but it also has the low maintenance facility of the tiles, except you don't have your grout in it.
Fantastic. What are you doing this weekend? Are you offering people coming along to the Ideal Home Show anything?
Yeah, we're offering a discount for any orders purchased at the show or within 30 days from the show, and the order discount is 10%.
Wonderful. Make sure you stop by Chris's exhibit. It's absolutely fantastic. Love the colours, love what you're doing here. Thank you so much for chatting to us.
Yeah, cheers.
That's our reporter there, Laura Butler, at the Natural Stone Carpet stand. You're watching ongoing coverage of the Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show, coming to you live from the RDS here in Dublin. We'll be talking to lots more people between now and 5 o'clock this evening. One of the buzzwords here at this particular show, it's a very, if you like, current trend in house building or house renovation, is the whole area of energy preservation. This whole process whereby you put on your heating or you put on a fire, and you want to keep the heat in. You want to keep the drafts out, heat in. The whole idea is that you won't have to put on your central heating as often as you may have in the past, and in theory that helps you to save money. Well, let's take a look at one particular innovation which is doing rather well, and Laura has been speaking to people with weather seal insulation.
We are at Weather Seal Spray Foam Insulation, and I'm here chatting to Mark. Hello. Mark, how are you?
I'm good, thank you.
So talk me through what you guys do. This is a new way of heating your home.
It certainly is. It differs from the old type installations in that it's now designed to create an airtight seal on your roof. So the biggest problem with the old type installations is that they're designed to reflect heat, but they don't deal with cold air infiltration, and the current building regulations are very strict on cold air infiltration. That's the biggest problem when it comes to heat loss in a house. So generally speaking, what we have to do is we'll go in, we'll do a full assessment on the roof, and the system won't vary. It's the same system regardless of what style roof you have, regardless what type of felt you have. It involves the installation of a breathable membrane. It's a rigid breathable card. And onto the card then we install our open cell foam. Now, the card is critically important because there are some systems on the market that don't install a card. There's a very strong reason why you have to have it. There's 3 things that we control in a roof. We stop the heat getting out, we stop the cold from leaking in, but the thing that constantly gets forgotten about is moisture vapor. When you have heat, you've got moisture vapor and it needs to get out. So what it's designed to do is the moisture vapor can pass up through the foam and it needs to reach that ventilated space to dry. If you don't have that ventilated space, it's trapped. And that is a problem because then it'll go into your timber and you've got a long-term problem. So it's very, very important to have that ventilated space.
And you're NSAI approved?
We certainly are. We're fully NSAI certified. The system as it is with the card and the foam are certified to be used together. There are many different applications for the open cell foam, such as in a timber framed house. It can be sprayed directly into a stud wall, but we use it exactly as building regs and NSAI tell us to use it.
Allows for.
Yes.
Is it long lasting?
It's guaranteed for the life of the house. Once it's installed correctly, you cannot take shortcuts with it. You don't make up your own variations. As I say, once you control those 3 principles, warm air, cold air and moisture vapor, you're absolutely fine.
How many days would it take to install in a home?
A standard 3-bed semi would generally take about 6 hours. So it doesn't take very long. It's very fast, very efficient, and as I say, it's there for life.
Can I ask you about price points, if I may?
Just to give you an indication, generally a 3-bed semi would cost anywhere between 15 and 1,700 euro. But it's a very good investment because
and you're talking it's long lasting, it's life lasting.
Exactly. So it doesn't shrink, it doesn't pull away from timbers. It's guaranteed for life. It'll stay exactly as it is. So you don't need to top it up. You're finished. The best thing as well about insulating the underside of a roof is that the insulation layer covers your water tank and your pipes. You don't need to lag them because the frost can't penetrate the foam. They're absolutely fine.
And what are you offering people here over the weekend?
What we do is, obviously we do free surveys, and anybody that makes a booking here through the show itself, we'll offer a 10 to 15% discount depending on the size of the job. Some people have very small jobs and there's just no scale in it for much movement. But a lot of the guys I was talking to here we're talking about very large projects, so I'll definitely look after them.
Mark, thank you very much, and we'll throw back to studio now.
That's our reporter there, Laura Butler, at the Weather Seal Insulation stand. Well, if you've just joined us, welcome to our ongoing live coverage from the Ideal Homes show here at the RDS, brought to you by Permenant TSB. With lots of people to talk to between now and 5 o'clock this evening, people involved in the whole area of either home construction or interior redevelopment and so on. And one thing that's very prominent here at this event is the number of stands or exhibitors who are offering new types of kitchens. One such company is Rooney Kitchens, and Laura has been at their stand.
I'm here now with Michael Mooney from Mooney's Kitchens, very established company since 1990, I believe.
That's right, Laura. Yeah. We opened the company in 1990 as 2 brothers. Martin, it's all personal service all along the way. I do the sales and showroom and workshop end of it, and then Martin comes along and he does the fitting, and he does have a guy with him as well. So it's all personal service all along the way,
And it's all bespoke kitchens.
It's all bespoke kitchens. Yeah, everything's made to measure. So the likes of any of these tall, larder units, right like that, we can make them any size. There's no such thing as off standard with us. Like if somebody wants it this size here or wants it a little bit smaller, no problem whatsoever. So it's all made to measure. And that's
they look fantastic.
Yeah, that's a bit of a wow factor to that there. Sorry, Laura.
A lot of space as well. I mean, for chopping and all of that.
Oh yeah, you can cut bread and all that type of thing. It saves your main worktop. And this here is your dovetail drawers here, so they're all bespoke. Again, they can be made any size. All dovetails here. If somebody wants maybe even the kids' names written on them or something like that or whatever, so it's all, anything can be done there. The spice racks here on the back of the doors here as well, so again, they can be made any size, or they can be done in timber, they can be done in painted. We have a shelf in here, a shaped shelf, so as you get place for tall stuff here as well, you know. So,
take me over this direction, and I have to say I love the handles and all of the doors. They are absolutely beautiful.
A crystal. Everybody comments on the handles. They're a crystal, and you can get cheaper ones on the market, all right. But these are the real thing, so they're very good. And also, what we've done on this unit here, in a lot of cases, people have a door maybe hanging on the front of the door like this here. It doesn't look near as well. So in this case here, what we've done, we've brought out this pole here, brought out the mouldings up on top, and so we framed the whole unit, you know, so it looks much better. It's not like your just basic kitchen type of thing. There's a little bit more to it.
It's not pokey at all. It's a very solid kitchen.
Very solid, yeah. And all your tongue and groove end panels here. So they're all panel, and also on the end of the island there, you can do it this way. It's panelled, square panels here on the end of it. The moulding that goes round the top here, so it's very important that the lines follow around the units there as well, you know.
So when you have a client, a family coming in and they want a new kitchen, talk me through the process of what goes on.
What happens first is what we try and do is get them down to the showroom make an appointment to go down to the showroom. We show them all the stuff we have down there, so we have loads of kitchens down there to see. And then if they're happy enough with that, what we do is we go out to the client's house, we get all the measurements and that type of thing, and then we come back and do a drawing for them, an AutoCAD drawing. So we either email that to them or get them back down to see what we've done. And if we can make any changes, if they want to do some changes, that type of thing, we do all that then. So if they're happy enough with that, then at that stage we do a quote. So they know then what the whole thing is going to cost, what the appliances are going to cost, what the worktop. It's all an itemised quote. Worktop is all itemised, the whole lot. So and if they're happy enough with that, then it normally takes about maybe 6 weeks from that stage to have a final kitchen done. What we can do then is we can supply a service that we can take out their full kitchen. We do the electrics, do the plumbing, all that type of stuff. And then what happens then, they get the floor tiled. And our guys come along then with the kitchen. They will cover the whole floor. They'll go through the floor with the customer first. So they will cover the whole floor, so it's not going to get marked or anything like that. Protecting people's property is very important to us. So they'll cover the whole floor, make sure there's no marks or anything like that, fit the kitchen, and then they'll take off the covering so they make sure it has left the way we got it, you know.
And you do backsplash. I know this is painted, obviously, but
yes.
You do backsplash and all that as well?
Oh, we do. We can do glass backsplash. This has an upstand here. So we can do a backsplash behind the hob. We can do all glass in there. The day of tiles on the background, I think it's nearly gone, you know, so people don't do much tiles. Do tiles on the floor all right, but not on the walls, you know, so. But, and then there's some of the appliances. We do all the NEF appliances. This is the slide away door here on the NEF.
Very fancy.
Yes. You also have a telescopic shelf here. You know the way some of these shelves can just tip down on you here.
I've lost a couple of cake tins that way onto the floor.
Get your bone in here probably as well. So like this here is a telescopic shelf. So if you had a chicken or a roast or any of that on there, you can walk on it and do whatever has to be done and then just slide it back in.
I think you should flip the door there for the camera one more time.
We go again, all right. Here we go. 1, 2, 3.
Fabulous.
Very good. And this is the warming drawer here then on the bottom. This keeps the food warm. Well, say if your dinner made and he's away out playing golf or whatever, he doesn't come in for 3 hours, that'll keep the dinner warm for 3 hours.
And for your dinner parties and the like, around Christmas time, you've got the goose or the turkey, that's ready early, keep it in there and have your drinks.
That keeps it all very warm. And also down here on the kickboard, when we are fitting the kitchen, we do keep it 2 mil off the floor. Just down along here. And we do seal underneath all those there as well. It's for protection. So when you're washing the floor, that no water goes up in the kickboard. And there's also a plinth seal here that goes on the bottom of the units. Again, so it's all for protection. And that's the only place we find that the kitchen might get wet or that type of thing there at the bottom. So
I see there's lighting there underneath as well.
Yeah, the little plinth lights. It gives a nice effect. We'll say if you're in the dining area maybe at night or something, just leave those on. It gives a lovely effect there. And that's also a wee little hoover there on the bottom. See this fella
at the end here?
Yeah, that's a little hoover down there. So he just kicked that there and the hoover comes on, he just brush all the dust. You know the way every house has a brush and there's a load of dust behind it, that gets rid of that there, you know. And the inside of our carcasses are all done in an MDF. There's no chipboard in ours whatsoever. So you have the backs.
Can I feel it?
Yeah. The backs are made of the same material as the shelves. So it's not a little light hardboard back or anything like that. And also we do drill a hole here, adjustable shelving. So we drill a hole here and you put a steel sleeve into this here, so it's very good and solid, you know.
Now, if it's adjustable shelving, could I move that myself?
Oh yeah, it's only a matter of just lifting it up there like that, taking out the studs, put them into the other hole there, and away you go. You get more cups.
Different size jugs or glasses or the likes.
And the likes of all the hinges and that type of thing, it's a soft close hinge, so the door closes softly like that there. Now, we can get hinges for maybe a third of the price of what we pay. We use a Blum hinge. We've been using it since 1980 and never gives any problem. But it's all about things like that. Interior finish, MDF, the hinges, solid doors and that type of thing. You will get cheaper out there, but you get what you pay for at the end of it.
It's quality from the outside to the inside.
And as I say, it's all bespoke. Everything's made to measure. Even the likes of, we do the bins. This is the likes of the internal bins here and that type of stuff. And another thing we find, design is very important also. See the way this dishwasher is here, okay? drawers for your plates. So you take your dishes straight out of it into the drawer, you know. And that's all part of our service, your cutlery and all that. All about design, really, so it's very important.
Michael, one thing I want to finish on is the lighting. Crystal as well, they match the handles.
Yeah, we can supply those also. We do a deal with a guy, he puts the lights up here for us, so we walk through himself, and we've done a few jobs recently, and they went for the lights as well. Some guys will go, when they see this at the show here, they'll go for everything we have. They'll go for the lights, they'll go for the handles, they'll go for all that type of stuff, you know.
They're absolutely spectacular.
That's just a selection of colours over there.
I see colours here, yes.
Yeah, just a selection of colours over here on the wall. So they can be painted any colour that can be got. We can do it, you know. So if someone has a specific need or whatever, or a colour that they like in the farrow and ball or that type of thing, we can get any of those colours.
We're crowded in here. It's a very popular showroom.
It's busy now, all right, today, thank God.
Thank you very much for chatting to us, and we'll throw back to studio now.
There you are, that's some nice trendy work there at Mooney's Kitchens, and our reporter there, Laura Butler, getting a taste and a flavour of the lovely designs that Mooney Kitchens offer to would-be kitchen buyers. If you've just joined us, you're watching the Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show, coming to you live from the RDS here in Dublin. We're live on idealhomes.ie and catchexpo.com. Now, of course, a lot of the exhibitors here at the RDS this weekend, they're offering products which of course would be deemed as value for money, but if you have some extra money to spend, there's another dimension, of course, to living in a modern home, and that is how you look after your body. One such company from Wales is here, and they offer a most well, I suppose you could say a very unusual product if you have the money to spend. It's a bed that deals with all your aches and pains. And to tell me more about it, I'm joined here by Philip Bolton of Cyclosage.
Cyclosage?
I hope I've got that right.
You've got it absolutely right.
What is Cyclosage? What do you do?
Cyclosage is a company that retails therapy equipment, pain relief equipment. It's equipment that will offer pain-free or medication pain relief. Medication-free pain relief. It's a combination of far infrared heat and cycloidal motors. There's 9 motors built into a system that creates therapy for the whole body and will relax muscle spasm, take pain away from stiff joints, painful joints. It's for people where they're suffering with a chronic condition such as arthritis, multiple sclerosis, any condition where they're taking medication on a very regular basis. My equipment will give pain relief without medication.
So is this, if you like, a massage bed that you have developed yourself, or is it just something, it's out there and you happen to be an agent?
No. I have manufactured electrically adjustable therapy beds in the UK for many years. This is equipment I've developed and have manufactured in Germany. Engineering for this particular product is probably the best in the world, and the level of quality, reliability, etc. Unfortunately, at the moment, we can't compete with Germany, so I get it manufactured in Germany. I sell it in the main in UK, but I sell it all over the world. We sell in America, in South Africa, all over the world.
Okay, how does the bed work?
Okay, it's a combination of far infrared heat. That's been used medically for decades. It's a deep, penetrating heat. Penetrates muscle and tissue to a depth of 3 to 4 inches. That will relax muscle spasm, increase venous circulation in the immediate area of the heat. There are 6 particular sources that cover the main parts of the body: neck and shoulders, lower back, and calves, where people get a lot of muscle problems. It's used in conjunction with a movement called cycloidal polymodulation. It's a medical vibration that basically is 100% non-destructive. It's been researched over some 60-odd years and been proven to be one of the best forms of pain and ache relief available that is non-medication related. So many people suffer pain on an ongoing basis and are fed up with taking medication because any medication has side effects.
Now, it strikes me that really what you're offering is a massage without the masseuse, and it's all done mechanically.
It is exactly that, but people will go with a back problem to an osteopath. They will go maybe every 6 to 8 weeks. It's a reactive movement. They go there because their back is bad. They get a treatment, they feel initially better, but then almost within days they're deteriorating again until 6 or 8 weeks later they go back and have another treatment. We call that yo-yoing between being put right and deteriorating again because the underlying problem is there. Whereas by using my equipment, you would use it first thing in the morning. You couldn't see anybody at that time, 7 o'clock in the morning when you first get up. That's when most people, whatever condition they're suffering after having tossed and turned at night, at their stiffest. It might take them half an hour, an hour to get moving. Well, you get on the system, 20 minutes later you feel a different person. It gives a temporary benefit that very quickly becomes continuous because you top that up in the evening, the next morning, the next evening. And it's equipment you need to use on a daily basis at home, and it will give ongoing pain, ache relief, increased joint mobility. It improves the quality of people's lives dramatically.
Sure, but dare I say, one of the potential downsides is that if you are on a table and a masseuse is, working on your spine area, and you say, well, actually, I've got a pain in that particular area there, can you just give it a little bit more treatment? That can deal with the issue because it's a one-to-one engagement with the masseuse. But you can't tell the machine that you need a little bit more work done there.
Absolutely wrong.
No?
There are 9 motors in the machine. There are 5 different areas that you can actually increase in intensity, decrease in intensity, and tailor the treatment for your specific problems. Without getting overcomplicated, there are 5 manual treatments and there are 9 therapy treatments. These therapy treatments cover anything from lower back pain, referred sciatic pain, to neck and shoulder tension from sitting at a typewriter that lead to headaches and migraines. You can tailor specific conditions and specific areas of the body. So yes, it is very, very effective.
Is this proving popular with sports teams, for example, particularly rugby teams?
We do and are selling to more sports teams and sports individuals because there is a warm down program, medical program 9 or therapy program 9 is for use after vigorous exercise. This will strip lactic acid, harmful metabolic products and toxins that settle in muscle and surrounding tissue. Therefore, the individual will recover much quicker, won't ache as much, and is far less likely to sports injury. So yes, there is an element to that.
And in terms of customer satisfaction, what sort of results are you getting?
We get fantastic results. I mean, we're at the RDS here. Anybody that wants to come along that has a chronic condition, I'm very happy to treat them free of charge. And we always take a pain score before they get on. So if they have severe osteoarthritis, 0 is no pain, 10 is the max you could imagine. They may come on as a pain score of 8 out of 10. We will reduce that by at least 50% within 20 minutes. Sometimes people get off with no pain whatsoever, but I would say without a doubt we'll halve the pain they're in within 20 minutes.
Just one final question, Philip. If somebody wants to purchase one of your beds,
yes,
how many euro on average will they have to hand over to you?
If 90% of my customers have a chronic condition, because the therapy system is credited medical equipment, they would be entitled to sign a self-declaration form, which would mean I could take the 23% VAT off. That would bring the system set, including a table to put it on, down to 3,890 euros delivered. That's the full payment, and that would be for treatment and benefit for the rest of their lives.
And guarantee, of course, built in as well?
I'd give a guarantee of 2 years. I'd ask people to take that with a pinch of salt. I've got equipment that's been in commercial operation for over 10 years. My first ever commercial operation was a place called the Derwent Hotel. They have 6 of my systems. They've been using them non-stop 7 days a week for over 10 years, from 8 in the morning until 6 o'clock at night. We haven't had a moment's trouble with any of those. Of course, occasionally you'll get a malfunction in the odd one, but I sell thousands a year in the UK. We sell them all over the world, and the percentage is tiny. But certainly I can put it right within or without guarantee.
You're based in Cardiff in Wales, but the website address is?
The website address is www.cyclosage with a dash in the middle.com.
Okay, well, Philip Bolton of Cyclosage, thank you very much indeed
My
for joining
pleasure.
us. So if you're having difficulty with your physique, whether you're in muscle pain or whatever, Cyclosage is certainly worth checking out, and of course all dependent on the basis that you have the money to purchase one of those beds. Anyway, you're watching ongoing live coverage of the Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show, coming to you live here from the Simmons Court Pavilion here at the RDS in Dublin. We're with you until 5 o'clock this evening. Lots of more people to meet between now and then. But one particular sector that's gaining a lot of attention at this particular show, not only in homes but indeed in motor-propelled vehicles, is this whole area of energy efficiency. We know that we've passed peak oil some years back, and the search is on to find cars that can either run on electricity or run on hydrogen or oxygen or whatever, anything to save fuel and save the customer or the consumer money. Well, I do believe there's something very exciting happening at the Nissan stand, and Laura is there.
I'm here with Saoirse now from Nissan Ireland. She's going to show me around an e-car of which I knew absolutely nothing about. Saoirse, hello, how are you?
Hi, how are you?
I'm very well, thank you. You're going to take me through the Leaf?
I am, the Nissan Leaf. It's our the biggest selling electric vehicle in Ireland.
Okay, let's wander around here and have a look at the engine.
So, well, actually there's no engine.
Oh, see, I know nothing about e-cars.
No engine in an EV. This is a battery. So actually one of the huge things about having an electric vehicle is the fact there is no engine. So you've got no points, plugs, no oil changes to do, no gearboxes, no clutch to repair. So from owning an EV, it's very, very inexpensive as an ongoing opportunity. So we've got our motor here. Here we've got our charging points with a Leaf.
Might come around and have a look. Our charging points, because I've only seen very few charging points around Dublin City. Are there many?
I don't know the number in Dublin City per se, but around the country now there's about 1,200 charging points. There's 62 fast charging points. This is your fast charge here, and that will charge the car from empty to 80% full in about 25 minutes. So you won't be stuck there. Every 60 kilometres along the motorway network in the country. So we actually had a rally in Cork the other day where 35 EV owners, Leaf owners, came down to Cork from all over the country. Next hour, a couple of cups of coffee on the way, and they were down, so it was great.
Fabulous. People have a preconceived notion about e-cars, though. I know I do anyway. This is very much a family car, though, right?
Absolutely. So you can. I don't know if your cameras can see inside, but it's
take us on inside.
5-seater. Oops, sorry.
Right, we'll have a quick look in here.
You can see it's very, very spacious. It's a full 5-seater family car. This one here has full sat-nav navigation, leather seats, heated steering wheel, everything that's making it more economic to run in terms of the battery underneath. The battery runs, it's a whole 48-block modular battery that sits from the back of the front wheel to the front of the back wheel, and it sits right in underneath the car. You get about 150 to 200 kilometres out of the battery charge. A battery charge will cost you about €2.
Do you rent the battery or do you own it?
No, you own the battery. You own the battery. So, which is really the preferable way to run the car as well, because at least then you are responsible for maintaining it in the way that you're not suddenly going to get somebody else's battery and you don't know how they've charged or what they've done with it. But it costs about €2 to get the guts of 200 kilometres. So you can get from Dublin to Cork for just less than €2.
Very cost effective. So tell me, if I have my e-car and I'm going home and I want to recharge at night, do I plug it into the garage like the old Hoover, or do I get a point install outside?
Yes, ESB will come and they'll do a survey in your house and they will install a socket on your wall that you come in, and it's just that controls the drain of the electricity into your car and how your car accepts it. So it's very, very safe. There's lots of surge protection and stuff in it as well.
Have you noticed much of a rise in interest in these types of cars over the last year to 18 months?
Absolutely. I think the infrastructure has changed things. ESB e-cars have done fantastic work over the last 12 months, and now there is the confidence there. There is, with the Drive for Zero campaign that launched in Cork then during the week with Minister Coveney, our offices are buzzing now at the moment. We've done now this year 5 times the amount that we did last year already, and we're actually pushing ourselves on for next year to do that again.
Fantastic. Well, listen, thank you very much for chatting to me. Is there anything in particular you're offering Ideal Home Show visitors this weekend, discount-wise, or I don't know, anything like that?
We're doing a zero deposit finance deal. So for people who haven't changed their cars in the last 7 or 8 years, and maybe they're worried that their current car won't have enough value in it for a deposit as a trade-in, we're doing a zero deposit finance offer, and we've got other good finance offers coming out next week. Just keep an eye on Nissan.ie, and you get all the offers there.
Very good. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
That's our reporter there, Laura Butler, at the Nissan stand, and a rather interesting development there in relation to new technology for motor cars. Well, if you've just joined us, you're watching ongoing live coverage of the Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show, coming to you live from the RDS here in Dublin. We're looking at all sorts of new innovations in the whole area of energy efficiency, the whole area of kitchen design, sitting room design, gates, driveways, everything to do with either building a house, buying a house, or renovating a house. If you're in that area at the moment, well, this is the place to be this weekend. And of course, this show continues until tea time on Monday evening. Okay, we're going to take a look now at the whole area of design, and Laura has been talking to Rory Kelly and Noel O'Donoghue.
If you're looking for a 21st century look, but you're also looking to combine classic, chic, with something a little bit urban and different, Rory Kelly is your man. Rory, thank you for chatting to us.
Thank you very much indeed.
Talk us through your display here, your exhibit. It's absolutely beautiful, very plush.
Thank you. Yeah, it's I like it. Very much the paisleys are coming in. They're very popular. The velvet obviously is feel very luxurious. The colour is quite good. Greys have been very popular for quite some time now. This is obviously more of a blue colour. But it's very, very luxurious to sit in. All of my furniture is bespoke, so it's spec pending, what size, be it an L shape or classic design or something more contemporary, whatever way you want it. That's what we do.
Brilliant. I want to go and sit in the couch because it does look absolutely
very
inviting.
It's very, very comfortable.
So, if I have an old sofa and I want to get it recovered and I want to go the paisley look, velvet, sit down here beside me, and go something a little bit different and upstyle my sitting room, what do you have on offer?
Well, I have an extensive library, and I opened a showroom just 2 months ago. So you can come to the showroom and spend hours and hours and hours just anything you want. So if it's plains, if it's velvets, if it's cottons, linens, like this particular fabric book here, for example, depending on the colour, you could be going for a beautiful. It's the same fabric on the couch that's here.
That's a very popular colour at the moment,
isn't it? It is a beautiful colour, the mulberry. Or you could go down to the likes of the herringbones, which are beautiful as well. Slightly more traditional, but again, they're a wool. It really depends. Some people are looking for, totally different looks. Every house is different, every style is different. You have to cater to the client for what they want and also what actually suits the house or the room that you're designing.
So you come out to someone's home and you take a look at the surroundings, the ambience, and you kind of talk through with them.
Yeah, and depending what aspect the house is facing, be it north, east, west, you take in all those kind of factors, and also the size of the house. If there's children in the house, you have to be very careful, obviously, with regard to washable paints from Colour Trend to washable fabrics on your couch, so you can zip off the cover and throw it into the washing machine.
Fantastic, very, very practical.
Has to be, yeah, well, particularly with kids in the house.
Absolutely. What's been the most popular colours and patterns and materials you've noticed in the last year?
I think my own house says it all. My friends have recently started calling me 50 Shades, referring to obviously that dreadful book, or maybe I shouldn't say that, Wolf the Grey. Grey is very, very, very popular. Of course, I'm wearing a grey jacket. The ottoman is grey, silvers. And this time when I did the stand, I've never done a stand before, but I chose blue because I'm kind of realising that grey is everywhere, and maybe we need to start thinking outside the box a bit more.
But also it's a little bit of a different tone, different hue to the grey, because like you say, the grey is very popular, but it can be a little bit cold, whereas when you've got the pop of the cherry red, it really, really brings it to life.
If you look at the skirting board here, that's actually grey, but it's a rich colour. So, for example, internal doors, I recently did them all in my own house in this lovely grey. It's a very, very warm colour. It's really luxurious. If it's not on the light, it's more in the deeper tones. So it's also a silvery shimmer off it. It's very, very, very nice.
It's absolutely stunning. Is this your first time at the Ideal Home Show?
Yes, I've never exhibited before.
How have you found the experience so far?
It was a bit stressful yesterday when the paint was coming off the walls and they had to repaint this morning. It's great. It's good. It's great publicity, and as I've never advertised before, I suppose it's a whole new thing. But no, it's very enjoyable.
What are you offering customers this weekend?
I'm offering them a bespoke service, I suppose. And what I want people to know is that I have a showroom. They can give me a call and come and see me and have a look at what I do, or have a look at my new website, which is launching tomorrow.
And what's the website?
It's rorykellyinteriors.ie.
Brilliant, Rory, thank you very much. Lovely meeting you, and enjoy the weekend. Now we are going to nip across to Noel Interiors. Again, this is something Absolutely extraordinary, very plush colours, some satins, and I see some velvets here as well. Velvet's very popular. Noelle, hello.
Hi.
How are you?
Good.
So talk us through your showroom, please.
Well, basically we went for the really dark walls, which most people would consider very dull and dreary. But to contrast that then, we used all of everything is nearly white or glass or mirrored. And that's what makes it then more interesting. And
it's so beautiful. It's just
much.
very, very elegant.
Yeah, well, thank you. I do. I have to say now, I was pleased because you don't know what it's going to look like until you put it all together. But I mean, the chairs then are very practical because they actually are a faux leather, and so it's not just even the children, but sloppy red wine drinkers can sit on it and comfortably and not worry. So
absolutely,
and
because
still look really glamorous. You know?
Indeed, because when you look at it, you do think, oh, okay, that's going to be a bit delicate.
Well, it looks like it's a satin finish, you know, so that gives it all that lovely glamour, and especially with the deep buttoning on it, because you really get to see the sheen of the fabric. But then it's completely practical, which is great, because I mean, cream is not the most practical colour that you could use.
But everyone wants cream in their home.
Yeah, they do, but I mean, and this is one way of doing it in a practical way anyway.
Absolutely. Talk us through this lovely table setting. It's absolutely fabulous.
Thank you. The table is actually an old mahogany table that Jane carefully sanded back and repainted it in old bone from Colour Trend. And so there's about 3 coats of paint on that, and it came up really, really well. I mean, it was a horrible table, you know, but a round table is lovely. It's much more sociable. You'll get 6 people around the table, and still it doesn't take up a huge amount of room. So, you know, for a small stand like this, it still, you know, is effective.
Absolutely, and everyone wants to upstyle. They want to be painting, they want to be using furniture they have instead of investing in new pieces, and this is a perfect example of that.
Absolutely. I mean, it looks, you know, well, I feel that it looks rather expensive, and yet it was a very cheap table that we just picked up in an antique shop to do it for the show. So yeah, we were really pleased. Then my mother-in-law, Mary O'Donoghue from Dangan, did the lovely flower arrangements. I thought it was
stunning.
Fabulous. Yeah, yeah. Unfortunately, though, I don't think all the flowers are going to last. But anyway, yeah. And then the Delph is Mindy Brown's, and they're all available in Noelle Interiors and Tullamore.
Can I just actually focus on the curtains for a moment, because I notice you don't just do soft furnishings and furniture, you do curtains as well, and that's a big thing for anybody's home, isn't it?
Well, it is. I mean, we have our own workroom, so I mean, it is our big speciality is all the soft furnishings and the curtains. I mean, all of these curtains are lined and interlined, so I mean, from a practical point of view, you know, they keep the heat in and the drafts out.
Can I go over and feel them?
You can, of course, yeah.
Oh, lovely.
So, you know, there's an interline lining in this, and so it is an insulator as well as looking well. And then the curtains are the same. They will have, it's the equivalent of like a blanket lining between the fabric and the lining. So again, it gives it a thicker, more luxurious look, but it's also practical. You know, really, curtains became fashionable because they were trying to keep out the drafts in old houses years ago. So, I mean, now we love the look of them, but they do have a practical purpose.
They do have a purpose in the home as well.
Yeah.
So what are you offering customers this weekend who may not have seen Noelle Interiors before?
Well, we do have a 10% discount on flyers that we're handing out here. So anybody that comes to the shop after the show will get 10% off any of their orders. But we're also selling off everything that's on the stand. So, and they're all on special offer because, I mean, you know, we want to sell at the end of the day. So on Monday evening, they'll all be here to...
On Monday evening, you're hoping to leave and everything's
Empty-handed.
gone. Empty-handed. I'll come back and stick my name on a few items later.
Well, we take deposits, so if anybody wants to take something beforehand, they can collect it on Monday evening then.
And they can enjoy it and then come back and pick it up.
Yeah.
Noelle, thank you very much.
No problem.
Enjoy the weekend.
I will. Thank you very much.
Yeah, that's our reporter Laura Butler there at Noelle Interior Designs, and she was talking to Rory Kelly there just before that as well. If you've just joined us, welcome to our ongoing coverage of the Permanent TSB Ideal Homes Show, coming to you live from the RDS here in Dublin. Crowds are flocking in and have been since about 10 o'clock this morning. You can certainly feel a certain new atmosphere in the place in the last hour or so. More and more people coming in and enjoying the sights and sounds here of the Ideal Homes show. And of course, the show is on until 6 this evening. It's on again tomorrow, Sunday, and again on Bank Holiday Monday. So if you're buying a house, building a house, or indeed renovating a house, this is certainly the place to be. There's lots of advice on everything from home insulation, to buying new kitchens, to fitting out sitting rooms, bedrooms, erecting gates, putting in driveways. Anything to do with the modern home, it's all here in the RDS between now and tea time on Monday evening. Okay, we're going to go back out to the floor, and Laura has been speaking to people at the Colour Barn stand.
Of course, soft furnishings are very important when you're decorating a home, but so is the paint that goes in the walls, on the furniture and everywhere else. I'm here with Adele from Colour Barn.
How are you doing?
This is your first time at the Ideal Home Show.
It is. It's my first time with the Colour Barn. We're here with Colour Trend, showing people how to use different painting techniques, using all of the Colour Trend products and showing people what they can actually do with the tin of paint.
Upstyling is massive at the moment, isn't it?
It's absolutely huge at the moment. People at the moment are saving for deposits in homes, so they can't afford everything that they want. So what we're trying to do is teach them how to upcycle the stuff that they're inheriting or that they have in their life for a long time.
So talk us through some of the items you've got here today. I love this kitchen table because it's a door.
It's actually a door. It's just a simple plain door. I actually got it free on adverts, and we literally painted it down, or we just sanded it down just a little. We gave it a little bit of a key, and then what we did is gave it 2 top coats with satin wood. And it's our colour of our logo, and everybody seems to love it. But it's that simple. It's just using things that you have in your own home and just painting them up.
And it's not just women that do this as well. I mean, men can do this too, can't they?
Well, what we're trying to do is we're not just shabby chicers. We're trying to get into the whole retro feel and stuff like that. You can see our radio here and our Beano comics used on just a nest of tables.
Let's go over and have a look at that.
Yeah. So we're trying to get men involved in the whole upcycling as well, and we've had a lot of men on our courses. And we find that with some of the courses, it's just women that are doing them. But we really want to say to men, come out here and give it a shot.
And can you just talk me through some of the stenciling as well? Because I actually have never done stenciling, but something I really want to do, but have a bit of a fear of it and I don't know why.
Okay, well this is stenciling here. Just look at this board here. This is done with a stencil and literally a sponge. Okay, so any sort of sponge that you can use flathead brushes, but I just find that sponges works best. And just apply little by little and just dab very, very lightly. So you can use any stencil that you want, but just make sure that your stencil is stuck down with a low tack tape, so that when you pull it off, that it doesn't peel anything off behind it. But if you are going to do it on a paint finish like this, just make sure that your paint is completely dry before you stick down your stencil.
Can you do it on any surface as well?
You can do it on any surface. It just depends on what surface that you're doing it on. Just again, make sure that it's clean and dry. If you're going to wipe it down with a wet cloth beforehand, just make sure it's dry before you put your stencil down.
Obviously, Colour Trend is showing colours and trends with paint and passion. Can you tell us what are the most popular colours at the moment? I have a feeling that this blue might be very popular.
Well, it is quite popular with the ladies, to be honest. Every woman that's coming up, but some of the men aren't so sure because it's very quiet. It's kind of a very girly blue. But here we have all of the colours, the new Colour Trend. This is the new Colour Trend card. A lot of these will be quite popular. Again, we're getting a lot of the greens here that are really, really popular at the moment. And would you believe that all of these feature pop colours are coming in?
I love this mustard.
Yeah, this mustard here is actually on this chair here. It's called
that's gender neutral.
Yeah, that is quite gender neutral, and that's why what we've tried to do is we've brought in the pinks and the navies and a lot of the greens here, just to show that it does appeal to both men and women.
Adele, what are you offering people here this weekend at the Ideal Home Show?
Well, this weekend, if you sign up for our newsletter, every day we're offering 2 people a chance to win a place on one of our workshops. And our workshops include painting techniques and colour theory. So you can come and learn about colours for your home or your workplace, and we'll show you what best colours to use in certain areas.
Adele, thank you so much for that insight.
There you go, that's our reporter Laura Butler there at the Colour Barn stand here at the Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show, coming to you live from the RDS here in Dublin. We're on idealhomes.ie and catchexpo.com. Now, a lot of the exhibitors here are people in business for the very first time, people who've gone out on their own and decided to take a risk in the marketplace. If you've been watching the Dragon's Den program, of course, on RTE, you will know that a lot of the ideas that have been put forward as business startups all relate to either home improvements or home development. And one familiar face from that program is here today. He's got a number of interests here today, and I'm joined by Gavin Duffy. Gavin, through Dragon's Den and so on, you have a number of interests here. Tell us more.
Yeah, well, it's, you know, people come in, as you said, to the den and they pitch an idea to you, Ken. And often I say to people, what's the difference between a good business idea and a good business? And the difference is sales. You know, you got to be selling something. And I think it's very good for people to come along to an exhibition like this, where you have such large crowds. And, you know, if your idea, your product, your service isn't selling at something like this, there's something wrong with your product or service. So it's a real market test for me to see businesses come here. And this year I've been around the show this morning now for the last few hours, and I can see a marked improvement in the exhibitor numbers and the crowds here today, which of course reflects the upturn in the economy that people have been talking about.
I might come to that a little bit later on, because in your other roles you're sort of mentoring business startups and you're getting a better feel what's happening in the economy. But I think one of your companies that's here is it Aruna Sauces?
Yeah, Aruna Sauces was on Dragon's Den now about 3 years ago. It's at a very big scale now. We're supplying into all the supermarkets in Ireland and some of them in the UK as well. So it's one of those businesses that has really grown. Now that sounds like a success story to you and I, Ken, but the reality is, in the food business, when you scale to that size, you have huge cash flow problems, and that's very challenging. So we're doing very, very well. Sarah McLaughlin is the person who runs the business. Her husband, Sarge, it was Sarge's mother, Aruna, who gave them these recipes. Essentially what it is they're fresh curry sauces or kormas in a pouch, and you just pour them over your chicken, or you pour the Rogan Josh over your lamb, and they are really beautiful sauces, and you can prepare them so quickly. And it's a totally new concept to the market. It was a few years ago, but the nature of business is, if you really have a good idea like that, we've had a number of people now move into that sector. So we created a new category.
You've actually created competitors, have you?
Yeah, it's interesting. And please don't, I don't mean this as a criticism of the big multiples, but they're very powerful. But you know, you go along to one of these big global multiple supermarket chains and you say, look, if you had our sauces on the top shelf there when people are buying their chicken fillets, I'd say you'd sell a lot of sauces. And okay, right. So they try it. And they used to have stuffing on that top shelf. This is very interesting what can happen. So they took out some of the stuffing and they put in Aruna sauces. And Aruna sauces sold 7-1 versus stuffing. It was too successful. The word now gets out, so that multiple goes to somebody in the UK or somewhere and says, could you manufacture our branded sauce?
And to put it on the top shelf.
And suddenly we go back there and we see, yeah, there's 2 facings of Aruna and then there's X facings of whatever the multiple is. But look, you know, we've proved a concept, we're seen as the market leader, but why are we here for a company that's perceived to be so successful and gone beyond that? We're back here with a few new recipes today, and it's very important for us to taste test those with the public, and that's what we're doing. And of course then we're moving into food services, Ken, with the Aruna sauces, and that'll mean that, you know, the Sodexos and Aramacs, the big caterers who, you know, run every corporate canteen in the country, you know, they will be buying our sauces in bulk then to use in their food services in the restaurants that they run in various corporates.
And since you invested in Aruna sauces and, if you like, the profile that it got by just appearing on television, in terms of staff numbers, how has the company grown?
Well, the company is still, you know me of old, Ken. I lectured you as a young man. I know this man, boy and man. But I used to say KCD in the radio station to keep costs down. So Aruna has a very tight team, and then everything is outsourced. But jobs-wise, you know, from a manufacturing point of view, where we contracted out. But you know, we certainly would have created 15 or 16 jobs in that way. But coming back to sort of where we're going with Aruna sauces, you know, people watch Dragon's Den and they see an investment of, you know, in that case it was, I shouldn't say only, it was €30,000. But at this stage, as an investor, I can tell you I've put multiples of that because, as I said, it grows in scale. But it becomes more attractive to do that as the company is growing. And still, Ken, it's a challenging business, that one, because, as I said, the food industry is challenging. Versus another exhibitor there I see today, Tan Organic, of course, everybody
I was
knows.
just going to come on to that.
Yeah.
That's another one of your
Yeah.
investments. How is Tan Organic doing?
Well, look, you just have to see the stand there today. People are queuing up, you know, and the lovely thing about that is when you have a world-leading product like that, which is a fake tan, but it's 100% natural, there's no chemicals in it, and we just came to the market at the time when everybody was getting conscious about chemicals in cosmetics and the harm they might be doing to your skin and to your body and injurious to your health, perhaps. So Tan Organic has been very, very successful, but I'm not saying it's easier than the food industry, but you don't have the same shelf life issues, you don't have the same challenges about, you know, the van delivered and what was the temperature in the van, you know, what's the batch because of traceability. You know, the food industry is rightly so very challenging. So Tan Organic, very, very successful. I'm not involved day-to-day wise after years of being very involved from a mentoring point of view because they grow, and Noel O'Connor, who is the founder and genius behind it, is driving on. Now, Noel isn't here today because the Irish market, with respect to Ireland, isn't our sort of most important market. We're still doing very well here, but Australia is where the big game is in play at the moment for us. And Noel is really beginning to expand heavily into Australia, because in Australia there's a big health thing about not going out in the sun. So, you know, you wouldn't think, what do the Australians need fake tan for? But if you turned up and you're a lady in a nice cocktail backless dress and somebody said to you, that's a lovely tan, and if you said, oh yes, I was out in the back garden sunning yesterday, they'd sort of look at you the way we'd look at somebody here who said, I drove home with 8 pints last night on me. You know, it's just all changed. So it's a big market
because
for us
melanoma has become such a prominent issue and so on.
It's a big market down in Australia.
Now, I believe that another of the groups that are here that you have an association with is the Business Action Group. What is it and how does it work?
Yeah, well, look, I'm more of a supporter and patron of the Business Action Group, but one of the ideas I had was, when an exhibition comes up like this, you know, there's a stand there behind us from Nissan, and the Nissan cars are there, but like that stand cost a lot of money, and you have to be a big global brand to have space like that. So that's at the top end, Ken, but down at the very end you end up with a little sort of table and it's costing you hundreds of euros.
The one-person operation.
A one-person operation. And I had this idea, if we could have a type of a tent within an exhibition or a big stand with all these little stands on it, wouldn't that be
like a co-op?
Yeah, exactly. And it's great having an idea, but you need somebody to make it happen. Because Ray Wilkins, who's the driver behind it, he was on Dragon's Den, and myself and Ramon and Nicholas were really taken with him, and he was one of the founders of this. You know, I said, look, we need to do this, but I need somebody to drive it. Now, Ray's own business is called TotalGifts.com, and for me, Total Gifts, I was interested in it because, Ken, you know, if you want for Christmas for your kid, in our house, you know, we're Arsenal fans, so if you want sort of you know, my son Cormac Duffy joins Arsenal and they print a magazine, the official art, and you can buy that as a present and hang it. Lots of stuff like that. You can get. You can have yourself. They can Photoshop you in a special way on the license from Arsenal that you're actually in the dressing room at the team talk during the Champions League game. It's great.
It's the optical illusion, but it's a good gift.
Yeah. So that's what he does. But he set up this Business Action Group, and that's why I'm here today. I always like to support them, and I'm going to be on the stand there as soon as we're finished here, saying hello to all their customers. But the lovely thing is there's about 20 of them, and if they, you know, if somebody, it's as basic as this, if somebody wants to sort of slip away for a sandwich, you know what I'm saying?
That somebody else to mind the shop.
Yeah. It's very EastEnders-ish, you know what I mean? But it works, and it's a great idea. And they're doing very well now that they're working, as you say, like a co-op.
Sure. Dragons have come and gone on the programme, and you are the longest survivor. From when you started out first and up to now, have you sensed a change in the mood of the economy, or is it just a Dublin thing?
Oh, that's a very good question.
Because there's a sense things are picking up in Dublin, but go down to the regions and towns like Longford and Clonmel and Thurles and Newcastle West, they're still struggling.
Well, look, let's deal with the Dublin end of it first. There's absolutely no doubt the economy has turned, right? You can see that, and you know, today I'm talking here about my Dragon's Den investments, but in my own business world where, you know, the businesses are a lot larger, more significant, I can see big expansion going on in those businesses, and yeah, things have really picked up. Now that's within the M50, Ken. I live, as you know, up near Drogheda. If I was to say to some of my retail friends in Drogheda, the economy is really picking up, they'd look at me.
They think you were pursuing a career in comedy.
Correct. You know, they as yet would say they haven't seen much evidence of that. And worse, Ken, it's become tougher for businesses as the economy has turned, because the banks are now in a better position. And so now the banks, if there was an issue as regards SME debt, the banks
they want that money back.
They want it now, whereas you just like there was no chance of getting it a few years ago.
Yeah.
And if they sort of put one out of business, we're putting them all out of business. So these are tough times for people in business, even though there's a turn in the economy. But Ken, I'd say this, it has to start somewhere, and it's fantastic that it started. And let me tell you what I noticed here this morning. As I was walking through, out the corner of my eye, I spied a gentleman on a stand selling wall beds, right? And there was a number of people on the stand. And I thought I saw one or two people looking like they were purchasing wall beds.
Right.
You know, this is where the beds are, right?
Yeah.
They're a really cool idea, right? But between you and I, Ken, they're not something you buy in the middle of a recession.
No.
You buy a beanbag.
It's sort of a luxury item, yeah.
Well, it's a nice item, and it's really, and that's why I'm always at these exhibitions. That's why I go to the similar show in Birmingham and London, because you get a real sense of the economy as to what's
moving and
what's moving here. And I'm beginning to see those, and I don't like to call them luxury items, but they're not essential purchases.
You can live without them.
And what's happening is people are feeling a bit more confident. It's all picking up, and yes, they're here today making for. And of course, there's always, I find, great value because you're looking for the show price. And what I love about an exhibition like this, there's a bit of haggling, you know, and you don't get, you know, if you go out to some big sofa chain and you're talking to Tony, the 16-year-old sales assistant, you know, he's not empowered to give you a discount, maybe. In fact, they've already discounted it hugely. That's why you're going there, etc., etc. But here, yeah, there's a chance you can cut a bargain and get a deal. And there's a few people doing the same thing, so you can do a bit of trading and see can you get a good deal.
From your time on Dragon's Den and all that's followed on from it, the various seminars and conferences you attend where you're talking to startups, you're talking to other mentors in the business, you know, are you getting any feedback from people in startups that the government is not doing enough in the area of X, Y, or Z, and they need more incentives here and less incentives there? In other words, if you were Richard Bruton tomorrow, knowing what you know and what you're hearing from feedback, is there any particular area of administrative life in this country that needs to be changed to give businesses, if you like, you know, a lift?
Yeah, well, look, that's an easy one to answer, Ken. You would try and get rid of the red tape and bureaucracy, right? So let's just say in Duleek, County Meath, where you were born and raised, right? You wanted to open a deli counter. Do you have any idea how many certifications you'd have to actually sell those sandwiches? You know, it's ridiculous, you know, and in this country we have a habit of blaming the EU and the standards are terribly important, but the amount of bureaucracy, you know, if you're a farmer, you know, with cattle, you know, there's people now coming along selling you software programs to manage your farm of 40 acres because there's so much bureaucracy. And that's what frustrates most people, I think, in business. Setting up a business is hard and difficult enough, but as I said, when there's so much bureaucracy. So yeah, I would like to think that government could get rid of red tape. I'm not sure, I'm not a huge fan of grants and handouts because ultimately the taxpayer has to pay for that, right?
Right, but do you not accept though that for some people a person who's got an idea but just doesn't have enough cash or equity to get started, to get a loan, that in fact grants and payouts are the only hope of getting somebody on the ladder?
Oh, look, yes, Ken, I agree with you in that sort of, from Enterprise Ireland to get a feasibility voucher or something like that is very helpful, or from the County Enterprise Board. That's all very important, but I'm not sure I like this grants culture, right? But what I would love to see is that in any business where we are in this economy still with high unemployment, yes, it's beginning to reduce and we're almost celebrating that, but we have a serious unemployment problem at the moment, that if Pat Fogarty here, the man behind this particular enterprise, wants to employ 2 or 3 extra people, that's where I feel the government should go and meet him halfway. And by halfway, I mean literally pay half the salary, because they would have been paying that on the live register anyway.
Yes, of course.
So that's where I think there would be, you could make a significant impact. Now, the one thing is, a lot of people say, Gavin, do you not think the banks should be lending more? And the banks keep putting their hands up saying, hey, we're lending a lot, all right? Ken, I can tell you that on Thursday night at 7 p.m., right, if you take all of the banks in Ireland and all of the overdrafts they have out to business, only 36% of the funds approved for overdraft were in use. So approximately 3 billion euro is out in overdrafts, but only 1 billion is being used. Now what does that say to me? And it's a figure nobody looks at, but that's the key figure. That tells you that the businesses, having come out of a recession, are being very careful and very cautious. They got into big debts. These are the ones who've got out of them, but they're not rushing back at them, and they're not even making full use of their overdraft. It probably also means they're managing their debtors better as well. Even in my own business now, where we used to sort of say, oh yeah, we'll go in there, we'll do a bit of consultancy. We want a PO number before we go in, and so there won't be any delay in a payment because cash flow became very important. So the point I'm making is to you that there's actually, I think there's money in the banks ready to be loaned out, but the business community are just being attacked, and rightly so, and they'll be very slow.
They don't want to get caught again.
They don't want to get caught again, and that's part of the problem. Whereas if government were coming along saying, Ken Murray, do you want to set up a news magazine or a TV production company or whatever, we'll help you with half of the cost of staffing it. It makes that decision a lot easier for you to jump off and into, and that's what I'd like to see changing.
Do you think as a result of the Dragon's Den program that there's now a greater awareness or a greater culture emerging that for people with ideas, being self-employed is the way to go, rather than working for the wage and having the comfort of your PRSI paid for by an accountant, that if you want to get on in this world, you've got to set up your own and go out on your own and take risks? Do you think we're more conscious of the beauty of setting up your own business than we were, we say, 30 years ago?
Well, look, at this time of the year, we all talk about the TV phenomenon of love-hate. What a spectacular show. And we all watch it with interest in huge numbers that just are off the Richter scale, a market share of over 50%. So, it's just absolutely amazing. Now, that 9:30 slot on a Sunday night, all those people watching Love-Hate, then for the last number of years, Love-Hate finishes and Dragon's Den comes on. So, it's absolutely amazing that more than 500,000, 600,000 or more people sit down as a family and watch a business program on a Sunday night. Like, it's just incredible that it has those numbers. And, you know, I have to say a big thank you to RTE for being brave enough to give it such a, you know, it is the prime time slot of the weekend, and to Bank of Ireland, who've been sponsoring it for the last 6 years. Ken, because I like you, I will give you a bit of an exclusive.
Hey, if there's one thing this program needs, it's an exclusive.
Well, you know, I don't have any hand actor part in it. I just turn up and do my bit in the studio. But I believe there's a bit of a Shinna Will and Larry Bass, the executive producer of Dragon's Den, and they're the production company. But I believe there's a bit of a play between a certain national broadcaster and a new national broadcaster coming on in January.
I think I know where this is going.
And I believe there's a bit of a fight, an arm wrestle going on. That's what I've been told by the sponsors anyway.
Right.
But I'm not
so
telling
we could
you
be
that
looking.
because that would be a major exclusive.
Yes.
And you know, that would be, you know,
Yes.
and you know, I think for Catch Expo that would be a huge piece of news to get that.
Yes.
So I'm not telling you,
So
didn't
what,
get that from
what
me.
you're implying is Dragon's Den could be on another channel.
I'm not saying that, Ken. You can.
I can read into it that way. Yeah?
You can make that. No, look, I'd still say it'll be in its usual home of RTE, but I can tell you, contracts are not signed yet, and I think, and there usually are at this time of the year. But if people watching were wondering, oh yeah, I haven't heard the ads for, you know, applications, which usually happen, because people watch it very closely. Because you're right, it is a big opportunity for somebody with a business idea, but I believe that's the cause of the delay.
Sure, I know you don't represent Bank of Ireland, but you work very closely with them. Has there been a beneficiary in this whole series for Bank of Ireland? Are people saying, I want to set up a business, therefore I'll go to Bank of Ireland, and because of brand recognition with Dragon's Den, they would be seen as the go-to bank for a startup business?
Yeah, of course it'd be easy to say, of course there is, Ken. But the truth is, do you think Bank of Ireland does very well because on the Leinster jersey there's a Bank of Ireland, or on the Ulster jersey there's a Bank of, or on the Munster jersey, right? It's all their battle for market share, etc. But more important than those which are just branding, Bank of Ireland has styled itself, and this is why I like Bank of Ireland, as the enterprise bank. And of course, being there to help people in startup situations, I presented for them the other night the Startup Awards. And, you know, so we had two great events on in Dublin on Thursday night. You had the Ernst & Young Entrepreneur of the Year. They're the really established, top-end premiership business people. But like every one of those men and women who were battling out to become Entrepreneur of the Year would say to you, when I started off, right down there out of my attic bedroom. And that's what the Bank of Ireland has done through Dragon's Den. And I think there will be, and remember, Ken, they did it at a time through the mother of all recessions, when banks were being criticised about where they were spending money. They made a huge commitment to Dragon's Den, and that's why I'm very appreciative of what they did. Because you know, I just love the program because I'm a gambler. I just love getting involved with a startup business. I love being here today with my colleagues and seeing how it goes. I'm going to mention one product that's huge this year. Couple came into Dragon's Den. I just love this. Couple came into Dragon's Den last year, right? Now I hope Lindsay doesn't mind me saying, Ken, what she actually had was a piece of foam in a pink sock. That's really what it was in prototype. And it's something that you put around your head and you wrapped your hair around it. If you were a lady, obviously not me, you wrapped your hair around it and you woke up in the morning and you looked like one of those beautiful ladies from Game of Thrones, right? Now, you wouldn't know this, Ken, but a lot of women have bought in the past types of sleep-in rollers and you can't sleep in them. They're just big, awkward things on your head. This moves it and yet protects and perfects your hair, so you wake up in the morning as if you've been to a hairdresser. Now, it's a piece of foam and a pink sock. She comes in, Ken, we now have that Aurora hairband out in the pharmacies of Ireland, and people are queuing up to buy it every day. That's why I do Dragon's Den. My fellow Dragons laughed at me when I invested 40,000 for a piece of foam and a pink sock, Gavin. You know, Peter
but it
Casey,
works.
It is going to be the biggest seller in pharmacy this Christmas. You know, like it's just that. I just love it. And to Alex and Lindsay, the Purcells, the couple behind it. I'm so proud of them, and they've been great fun to work with.
Okay, well, look, we're going to have to leave it there. We could talk to you all day long, but the clock is against us. That's Gavin Duffy there of Dragon's Den fame, and serial investor, I think is what he likes to be known as these days. You're watching ongoing coverage of Permanent TSB Ideal Home Show, coming to you live here from the RDS at the Simmons Court Pavilion, with lots of more people to meet between now and 5 o'clock this evening here on the programme. But we're going to go back out to Laura, who's at the Fairco stand.